Mark Out of 10, from the squared circle to your ears. This is the podcast where legends are made and stories are told, where opinions mean everything and nothing at the same time. Tonight we're talking about the smaller guys who hit big. We're talking about the light heavyweight, cruiserweight or junior heavyweights of wrestling. But first, I am the Mark Shields and my co-host. He's got the brains of a booker and the brawn of a main eventer, the housewife's favourite heel, Hoxie. How are we doing, Hoxie?
Mate, I'm really good. I'm really good this week. I think there's a bit more energy than there was last week tonight. I think last week was a bit of a drag and a bit of a, not a drag, but it was hard work to watch that pay-per-view, I think. I don't think we
was ass.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we didn't particularly enjoy it, did we? I think the summary at the end of it, and getting late into sort of the late hours of the day as we were finishing that, and it was hard work to finish that off. So the energy might have been a little bit low, but we're here. We've got a list to go through. We had a bit of a chat about this before we've pressed record. This is, I still, on my piece of paper, I still haven't finished my list, by the way, guys. We've got a little bit of chat before we're going to do the list, but I still haven't finished it because I had that many names on this list. I couldn't whittle them down. I've got 5 names left on my notes, and I need to fill 2 spaces with those 5 names, and I'm dreading it. But I'm excited, though, dudes. I'm really excited for this one. Should be good fun.
Should be good, yeah. I mean, we've obviously given ourselves a bit of a challenge because we only decided yesterday, when we recorded this on a Thursday, we decided yesterday what the list was going to be after the polls, etc.
Yeah.
And the winner was the cruiserweights, obviously, the light heavyweights, whatever you may call it. I don't like my list. Like, I'm going to tell you that right now. I'm not happy with my list. I know as I'm going to go through this, I've missed someone, or I've got someone on my list that probably shouldn't be on there, and I'm going to be pissed. But it is what it is. That's what Mark Out of 10 is all about, right? I mean, we've done, how many lists have we done? Like 20 odd lists, 30 lists, and
God, yeah, we're getting on, aren't we?
Yeah, I guarantee that if we go back through each of them, our list would not be the same. So, it is what it is, right?
I think a lot of this is, I think we have our favourite stuff, don't we? Because we mention stuff and we talk about stuff. And I think when I have conversations with mates and stuff about wrestling, you or other people or whatever, you have your go-to stuff. But when you have to get like 10, it's like usually the top spaces are filled up quite quickly. And then it's like a pick'em. And then it's difficult. Like the middle space is always the hardest bit to fill. And the last couple are then really difficult. Because you don't want to feel as though like they're the dregs, because the worst stuff. Like, just because it's number 10 in the list, it isn't the worst of the 10. Because we've usually got like 30 things we're choosing from, so it's like it's so difficult sometimes to do it. But yeah, man, it's fun. It's so much fun, and I'm really excited about this one, because it gives us an opportunity to talk about wrestlers and stuff. But there's a big misconception about like cruiserweights and junior heavyweights, that they're all fucking high flying spot monkeys doing fucking 450 Vernon Schnavitzes all over the place. Like, sometimes they are, like, I get it, but there is a lot more to the cruiserweight, that 220 pound, 225 pound down, like limit or whatever you want to put on it. There's more to it than that, right? There's some phenomenal technical workers in that sort of range. There's amazing sort of big little guys. There's guys from back in the day. There's guys from modern day. There's a lot to go at. There's a lot to go at. And we had a bit of a chat about like the cutoff for this, didn't we? It was very quick. Obviously, justification is everything, John, as you pointed out quite quickly. But it's 225 downwards.
Yeah,
when they were kind of doing their shit. Maybe.
Yeah, so basically, I mean, I've got this noted down like prior to us starting the list anyway. So the weight limits used by WCW World Championship Wrestling and the Japanese promotions is anything up to 225 pounds, which is about 102 kilograms. WWE uses 205 pounds, 93 kilograms
live
as its weight limit. So what we're not talking like 300 pound folk here. We're talking like 225. I think we could probably push it.
I've got Big Show on my list.
Oh, well, there you go. You need another fucking one option then, but yeah, so like as Hoxie says, when you say light heavyweight or you say the cruiserweights, you automatically think of the spot monkey, yeah, it's like the Ricochet type thing. Now, that's I've got a mixture on my list. I think there's one or two that people will be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" There's others that are be like, "Yeah, fair dues." So yeah, it's going to be definitely an interesting conversation. I just want to touch upon last week's as well. We had again really good comments and stuff on the watch along. We had a very valid point as well. I think it was Mickey that actually said this on the YouTube channel. Is there any way we can show the matches as we're watching it? Now, ideally, we'd love to do that, but as soon as we put that on YouTube, it will get taken down. Like, for example, when we did the crowd entrances, I wanted to show the clip of, Austin coming. Oh, sorry, I think it was the crowd reaction one. It was when Austin came in to interrupt the Mankind match. I put literally a 10-second clip of Austin from the glass breaking to him reaching the ring, and it got taken down by YouTube. So we can't do that.
No.
What we need to think about is how do we potentially watch-alongs aren't going to be part of the podcast. Maybe we have another platform for that. I'm thinking like a Patreon, for example, where it might be slightly less, where it's a case of you log in. It's something me and Hoxie needs to discuss. So we appreciate your feedback and we'll take that on board. We just want to watch Dynasty together, basically. So that's what
it's really difficult with sort of online streaming platforms and sort of content platforms to when it comes to copyright and when it comes to that sort of stuff. Like we struggle. We both Twitch on stream on Twitch.
Twitch on stream.
We Twitch on stream. That's at Hawk7 and Human Shields, respectively. But we get in trouble with like the MCA just for music. Like, and it's not even a visual thing. So it's very, very difficult. And we gotta be careful. We don't get it fucking sued by TK. We don't want to NDAs over here. You know what I mean? We want to know what's going on. So
it'd be fucking ironic if that's what we get sued from TK about, right? It's like, fucking hell. The amount of shit we said about him.
Fucking using streaming paid for streaming platforms to watch wrestling. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard. But we'd love to sit here and everybody just get together and just watch fucking wrestling together. But it doesn't work that way, does it? No. It's hard.
I mean, it would be lovely. What we might do is think about a Patreon thing, which is I think the issue with that is obviously it's a sort of paid subscription service, and me and Hoxie have never talked about that. So if we do something like that, we'd keep it to the very, very minimal, because we're not in it to make money, right? I mean, that's not the point of the podcast.
If somebody wants to sponsor us for a load of money so we can do it every day, that would be amazing. What? I mean, did I say that aloud then?
Yeah,
sorry.
Absolutely. But I mean, sorry. But, I mean, the thing is, if we do a sub-based thing for Patreon just for watch-alongs, it means that could go towards like paying for the network or paying for like the Fight TV for AEW, you know, that sort of thing. So we haven't discussed it. I just brought it up there just now because it was a very valid point. It was Mickey that said that last time. So we'll have a discussion. We'll think about it as time goes on, because there are a lot of big pay-per-views coming up that we'd potentially want to watch and do a watch-along for. But we do appreciate the fact that it's not as fun if you guys aren't watching it. So thank you for that.
We try to fill the space. We try to talk about stuff, but we are watching it obviously as fans as well, so we're sort of taking it in and watching it in, and it is quite hard for that to translate to something like an Apple podcast or a Spotify. The YouTube's a little bit easier because you can see reactions and things like that, but we do get it. It can be quite tough. We do try and fill the dead air as much as we possibly can. So, we just like it, guys. We're fans just the same as you guys listening. We're fans first and foremost.
Absolutely. So yeah, thank you to Mickey for that feedback. There was also another comment on the last video as well. Sorry, I'm just going to look. I've got a second screen here.
It's fine,
and
mate.
It's from
We're all second screening it. Don't you worry.
It's our favorite Black Country T-shirts official on YouTube.
74 Long Lane.
That is the comment goes as follows: Eddie Kingston as manager, 1,000,000%, spot on. He's got the body of a world sports darts champion from 1983, but Christ, he can talk. He's the most believable talking in AEW after MJF. He can make some of these guys genuine superstars just by pushing them to the moon on the mic. Amazing shout out. Yeah, I mean, we agree, right? Eddie Kingston on the microphone is gold. It's I think MJF is so far ahead everyone in AEW in terms of his mic work, but Eddie Kingston is definitely the top of the second tier, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think there's anybody potentially even close to Eddie, to be fair, that I can think of. But yeah.
That fucking darts comment, I'm sorry. I've tried to sit on that. That's ridiculous.
It's so good. But yeah.
It's making me fucking wheeze laugh. Oh, oh dear. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, amazing comment as well. So thank you to Black Country T-shirts official for that. Much appreciated.
Every comment, every like, every share, every subscribe goes together and helps what, Shields?
It helps with the algorithm.
Hey, I'll lead you up to that spot. It's usually my spot, mate.
Jesus Christ, yeah.
It's usually the hot tag for me, but I thought I'd swap it around.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You've caught me off sync. Well, I was going to say something there. You have fucking distracted me.
He's so excited that he's been given the hot tag. He's coming.
Exactly.
He's usually taking the beat down, and he's like, "What the fuck? What am I going to do?"
I'm gassed up. Yeah, what I was going to say is, I know I've been really slacking in terms of TikTok and stuff. So apologies, guys. I think I managed to get one out, and that was the intro that you almost like pissed yourself laughing at. But yeah,
life is hard, guys. Yeah. Life is hard, and we're not making excuses, and we're not doing this, that, and the other. But this is not our full-time gig. It's nowhere near. We would love it to be, but it just doesn't work that way sometimes. Yeah. And we have been exceptionally busy over the last month with lots and lots of different things, with holidays and all that sort of shit. We need our time too. So yeah, we'll be all right.
I mean, it's like it's so. I mean, I do work from home, but like Hockey says, it's just been sort of fucking balls to the wall. Basically, it's been carnage, and it's not getting any better because obviously we're recording next week as well. But the week after, I'll be in Germany for work. I'll be there for the start of the Euros, just coincidentally. But so there'll be a gap again. So we do apologise, but as soon as we get into a routine, we smash out the park, so it's absolutely fine.
Maybe we might try and get a couple in the bank. We might try if there's time. Maybe do a quick double up. So we got a bit of content going out. We could try and do that.
We could try and do that.
Yeah, we have. If we can work it out, we'll work it out.
Yeah, 100%. If you do want to email us, you know the email address by now. It's wrestlemark10@gmail.com. Is that the email address? That is the email address.
Right. Yes, it is, mate. Yeah.
Fucking hell. It's been a long day, guys.
Mark_out of 10 on Twitter. At Mark out of 10 on TikTok as well.
And on YouTube and on Instagram as well. So there you go. We are on all your favourite podcasting platforms as well. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Music, etc. So make sure you like, 5-star it, share it with one friend, because as we said before, just one person. Just one person.
It helps. Please. Pretty please.
Yep. Because what does that help you with, Hoxie?
The algorithm.
There we go.
Woo!
Okay, so as ever, guys, before we get onto the list, what we do is we talk a little bit about wrestling. Okay, so we're going back to the old school Mark out of 10 here. Okay, this is the way it works. And we're going to split it up. We're going to do a WWE section, start the list. Halfway through, we're going to go to an AEW section, and then finish off the list, and then reveal the next week's show. Okay, so that's the plan of action. So,
and next week's show is going to be a good one. So stick around for the reveal of that.
Hang around to the end of the podcast.
You're going to enjoy it. If you made it to the end, get involved. This is going to be fun. Anyway.
Okay, so we're going to do the WWE section first, okay, because there's a few things that have happened here in WWE that is interesting, Hoxie. And I think the biggest surprise is from NXT, the challenger for the women's NXT title. The Forbidden Door has been well and truly blown off its fucking hinges.
It's been kicked open, mate. Booted open.
Because the TNA Knockouts champion, Jordynne Grace, Big Mama Pump, is coming to NXT to challenge for the WWE NXT Women's title. Thoughts?
First and foremost, I think it's brilliant. It's a really, really, really good thing for wrestling. I love... We've said this before, haven't we? I love a nice surprise when it's not like too extra, when it's not just too mental. You know what I mean? This is a really, really good surprise.
It's a good surprise.
Especially in NXT. I mean, mate, I I'm going to use a great term here. We waxed lyrical about Jordynne Grace at the Royal Rumble, didn't we? She was one of the standouts. We done the little Royal Rumble review, didn't we? And she was literally, we probably spoke for 20 minutes on Jordynne Grace about how good she was in the Royal Rumble. So the chances of her getting a second chance, is great. But yeah, I just think it's amazing. Apparently, she's bringing in six figures for these WWE appearances as well, which is probably the biggest payday she's ever had in her career. So fucking fair play to her, mate. She looks amazing. She can work. She's got presence. She's got a look. Like she's every single thing buttoned up in a package for the WWE. I think we said this at the time. Why hasn't she been given this opportunity before? I mean, obviously she's been given it now, so who fuck cares? But what, like, why? Why not? Fightful Select have a sort of reporting that the door is basically very open for more crossover WWE TNA stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, I just think, dude, I think it's amazing. And for it to come in with the belt on her shoulder
really
to
cool.
challenge the champion, like for their belt, that's big time shit, man. That's big deal stuff, right? It really is.
Huge. Absolutely massive. The deal I saw online was there are scheduled for 2 more appearances and potentially 2 matches. So that's what I saw written. I can't remember where I saw it written, but that's where it is. So it's not just a one-off thing. I think she is going to appear a couple of times, which is quite cool.
That's wicked. So it's next weekend, isn't it? It's Battleground?
Battleground, I think it is.
Yeah, NXT Battleground. So. Yeah, so that's next weekend, isn't it? I think that will be one of the matches, like one of the go-to matches for the show. To be fair, I think it's and Perez is a smaller talent. Yeah. She's a smaller girl. So big posting and big moves and big bumping off Jordynne Grace. It's going to be fucking sick. I'm really looking forward to that.
It was a really good NXT just with that surprise. But I think the other surprise as well is, like, I don't think you realised that at the end, Trick Williams, the NXT champion, was blindsided by the one Ethan Page, formerly of AEW. Now,
I didn't know about this until you gave me the running list of the show. I can't believe that I've missed this. Maybe because it was just all Jordynne Grace stuff that I was looking at. I can't believe that I fucking missed this. Ethan Page is standout, one of the best shithouse heels of like this new generation of workers that have come out. He is the Wish.com MJF, probably is the best. But it's like, that's meant in the nicest way possible. That's literally meant in the nicest way possible. I think it's a great signing. He looks, he had a big shift. He was training well. He was eating well. His body changed. He can work. He can get over. He can get heat. He's got good charisma. He's great on the mic. Every single box that you would want ticked for people who know what they're doing in wrestling and WWE. Yeah. Ethan Page is there. I'm fucking, and he's still young, right? Still a young guy. He's got to be in his 20s, maybe at most early 30s at most. But some of the stuff he did in TNA was good. Obviously, getting signed by AEW, they dropped the ball with him a couple of times. Yeah, but he's, dude, like.
What's interesting? I'm just reading.
I didn't know he got released. If I'm honest with you,
he was released earlier this year. He was, but it's interesting. He hasn't actually signed with WWE.
He's open, free agent,
which is really interesting for WWE.
You don't. This is the thing now, right? This is the thing. I'm leaning forward. I'm getting the mic close to my mouth. Okay, this isn't the WWE anymore.
No.
This is TKO. This is Endeavor. Okay, you can be a one-off appearance guy. You can be. They're all classed as independent contractors. They're not, which is bullshit. But you can be an independent contractor. You can still get called in for shots. You can get paid on appearance. Like, Vince's thing, and it's always been, I want to own you. I want to own everything about you and your presentation and things like that. The brand isn't the person anymore. For an Ethan Page, it doesn't matter what Ethan Page does in NXT. If he gets signed up and goes to the main event and starts doing stuff on fucking WrestleManias or whatever, like, that's when he'll get signed to a deal. Now, they don't need that. He comes in, he makes a noise, he can work, he does what he needs to do, and he can go somewhere else if he wanted to. He won't, because he's that good, they'll snatch him up. But he doesn't. They don't need. It's like a fucking footballer coming in on trial. You know what I mean? You don't need to sign somebody up and fucking own everything there is to own about them now yet. This will be better for the talent. It'll be better for the TKO sort of brand as well to have more of that. They don't need to put all their eggs in one basket. They don't need to sign somebody to a 2-year contract if they bring him in and it doesn't work out. Like, they've got more than enough people on that roster, but he's got what lots and lots of guys in NXT don't have, and that's experience.
Yeah.
Experience on TV, but also he's a wrestler. He's a pro wrestler. He wasn't a fucking basketball player who they signed up to bring in to fucking train them up. He could come in, do a job, and he could probably show a couple of the guys in the fucking performance center what to do as well. I think this is a really good thing. A really, really good thing. Not just for the talent, but for NXT and for wrestling as well, to have a different view and a different perspective on stuff. I think it's great. WWE they're doing some really, really good shit right now, and not just necessarily like in the ring. All this stuff we've been talking about with the bloodline story and the finishing the story and all this these amazing matches and stuff. They've rejigged their internal guys. They've rejigged their fucking the visuals, the production of the show, the presentation. Yeah. They're bringing in talent from other promotions. Like, they're off doing all these amazing deals. They've gone to fucking Netflix. Like, they're doing all this amazing stuff that it's almost been overshadowed by how good the wrestling has been. If the wrestling was shit, all this stuff would be like, oh my god, the fuck's going on? This is amazing. It's fucking hats off to them. Yeah. Hats off to them. They're far more intelligent than I'll ever be, but it's amazing to see what they're doing. I love it, mate. Phenomenal.
It's awesome. Phenomenal. I mean, it's interesting you said that as well. It's like they're getting other people into the bringing in talent from other promotions into the WWE universe, we'll call it. But I'm going to ask you a question. It's something I saw from Santi Zap, who's Santi Zap is a wrestling creator. He's on TikTok, he's on Twitter, etc. Check him out. He runs, like, his content's amazing. And he asked a question on Twitter: with Jordan Grace going to WWE, obviously a TNA talent, do you think this could signal in what could be AJ Styles' last few years in the business? Could AJ go to TNA for one final run?
I think if you went there and had a 2 or 3 match feud with a fucking Hammerstone or something, it would be insane. Right. We always do this, and we've spoken about this before, and we do this on the podcast quite a lot, right? We fantasy book, and we have these discussions about, what's next for such and such, or like what can fucking LA Knight do now, and who's going to wrestle him and all that. Like, dude, an AJ Styles going back to TNA would be just like a huge story anyway, because it's fucking cool as fuck, and I love that sort of stuff anyway. But like, how good would that be, just as a wrestling fan, to see him just walk out on a fucking Impact and just stand nose to nose with somebody like who's in TNA, like one of their big dogs? It would be fucking so cool, and the possibilities for something like that are really, really cool to think about.
It's incredible.
I love this shit. I love this shit.
So good.
I tell you what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have a quick look, because I'll be honest with you, my TNA knowledge isn't what it once was. So I'm gonna have a quick look at the current TNA roster, and have a little bit of a look of who is there. Ace Austin, amazing high flyer. Yes, please. AJ Francis, is that? Oh my god, that's top dollar.
Yeah, it's top dollar. Yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Eric Young, that could be a really good match. Eric Young and AJ could be really good.
Hammerstone, fucking hell. James Drake is signed. Joe Hendry.
If Joe
Hold
Hendry,
they've got Clash at the Castle in Scotland.
if Joe Hendry appears at Clash of the Castle, Joe Hendry, if you he's so good. I first saw Joe Hendry at a Ring of Honor show at the Corn Exchange in Edinburgh, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. And he's actually really good in the ring as well. It's like there are so many opportunities here, and I don't want to turn this into like a shitting on AEW. That's later, but TNA and AEW were working together, you know, and nobody cared. Right? It was like, okay, right, great. You've already got an overinflated, overbloated roster in AEW, and you're going to add in TNA talent.
Yep.
And they didn't put anybody over in AEW for TNA, whereas, you know, again, because they don't have a booker to do it, right? It's like, but with Jordan Grace coming into the Rumble, she was put over like an absolute superstar.
Yep.
You know,
I can see her
getting put over big style in terms of.
God, imagine her being 2-belt Jordan and just rocking up to the next TNA pay-per-view with the fucking NXT belt over her shoulder. And NXT, Perez and Grace on a TNA pay-per-view. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. So you do that. You do it at a TNA pay-per-view, and then do the rubber match at, like, I don't know, a
NXT takeover.
Yeah,
fucking whatever,
something like that.
SummerSlam, dude.
So
you've got Nick Nemeth, fucking Ziggler's in TNA now. Signed up for TNA. Josh Alexander, Rich Swann, Mustafa Ali. Like AJ Styles versus a fucking Rich Swann would be a fucking unreal match.
Mm-hmm.
Kushida's there. Dude, good shit. Fucking Leon Slater for a start. I'd be all over that. But dude, there's some real shit to go at there. It would be cool, man. It would be cool.
I would like to see AJ going over for a run in TNA, just because that's where he made his name, right?
Oh my god, dude! Jonathan Gresham versus AJ Styles. Sign me up. Sign me up.
So yeah, what do you guys think? Do you think AJ has a possibility of going to TNA for one final run? I'm not saying he finishes his career there. He'll go back to WWE, and I think he'll be put into the main event picture to finish his run, because he's deserved that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be interesting. Let us know what you think. Is that going to happen? One other bit of WWE news. Obviously, we have the women's champion is now Liv Morgan. Like or lump it, until Mammy comes back, it's Liv Morgan.
Can we touch on King of the Ring quick? Or are we going to do that later on?
Absolutely. No.
We'll touch on King of the Ring.
On you go.
I watched King of the Ring on basically pretty much live at the weekend. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Not like, oh my god, it was fucking amazing, but it was like, this is a good show. It's good fun. It's a good presentation. There was some guff on there. I mean, they had fucking Grimace on there, fucking Nia Jax, who was just, dude, you Google Nia Jax King of the Ring and tell me that bitch doesn't look like Grimace.
I haven't seen King of the Ring yet.
Tell me that bitch doesn't look like Grimace. This is where we need to cut to on the YouTube is like a side by side of Nia and getting Grimace. Yeah. It was such a good show, and it was one. There wasn't loads of matches on there. It was more quality over quantity, and it was really good fun. It was a really decent match. Cody Rhodes and Logan Paul, mate, that's some good shit. We're back.
Apologies, folks. Had some technical difficulties there. We were talking about Grimace, right? She does look like Grimace.
We were talking about Grimace, right?
So I haven't seen King of the Ring.
2024.
So I haven't seen King of the Ring yet. So I need to go and watch that. Like I say, I've just been so busy. So you've seen it. You said it was a solid pay-per-view, yeah?
It would be a good 6.5, 7 out of 10 sort of overall presentation. It was. I really enjoyed it. It was a good.
In comparison to Backlash, because we watched Backlash.
I think it was just below Backlash.
Okay.
It was really good fun. There were some good matches. Randy and Gunther was fucking sick.
Wow.
The tag match at the start was decent. Liv and Becky, obviously going back to your previous point, there's rumors that Becky wants another kid.
Right.
So her and Seth have obviously took time off together to do certain things. There's rumors she's either up the duff or she is going to go and get up the duff. She wants another kid. So I don't know exactly what the situation is with that, but there's two places to go now, and Mercedes Moné has just been given $7 billion a year somewhere else. If you were Becky and you were a smart businesswoman, which she really is, you would take any opportunity you possibly got to be able to potentially leverage a little bit more. So if she is going to go away and have a kid, fair play to her. Do what she needs to do. If she's going to let her contract run down, then she's going to do that, and she's going to get some opportunities, or at least an opportunity to boost the pay up, even if it's an extra $500,000 here or $1 million there or whatever. Yeah. It's going to make a difference. Got to get that bag, guys.
Yeah, 100%.
Got to get that bag. She's the same age as me, and I'll be getting the bag in exactly the same way. Definitely.
I think, like you say, you sort of hit the nail on the head a little bit. The Mercedes Moné thing, like the amount of money that she's going to be getting, is ridiculous. I've always said that she, out of the four horsewomen, she was the fourth. You know, for me, it just didn't make sense. And
way fourth as well.
You know, Becky for me currently in the women's wrestling landscape is like just below Rhea. You know, like Rhea Ripley's number one without a shadow of a doubt. I don't think anybody can touch her at the moment. But Becky is second place by a long, long margin. You know, I don't think there's anybody close to her. So I think it's the perfect opportunity for her. I don't think she'll ever go to AEW. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's like...
But if she's going to get paid $10 million a year, she probably will. I fucking would.
She gets paid $10 million a year, yeah, fair enough. She won't get that money because AEW can't. Again, we'll talk about that later. They won't pay her $10 million. She won't go to AEW because there's much more. So she'll get... I'll just pick an arbitrary number. Let's say she gets $5 million a year in WWE, right? But it's not just $5 million. It's the exposure she gets, and there's so many different avenues post wrestling, right? Yeah. She wouldn't get that in AEW.
No.
To finish her career.
I mean, what's she getting now, though? That's the thing. It's kind of.
I think she's up there though, right? Because she's in terms of like, I think she was at one point she was like in amongst the top 10 in the company, and that's including the men. You know, it's like she's.
It was when she was the man. The whole man thing was
exactly.
was big time Bex, isn't it? That's where it comes from. I'm just wondering. I'm just having a quick Google. You keep chatting. I just want to see if there's any salary information about Becky.
Yeah, you do.
Becky Lynch on. I'd just be intrigued just to sort of see if there's anything.
Yeah, I just want to circle back to Backlash, to King of the Ring, because I haven't seen it. It's the third time I've said it, but I did see one clip, and it was Logan Paul from the top rope doing a frog splash onto Cody. That camera work.
It was a drone camera.
It was a drone. He wanted it. It was him that suggested doing the drone work.
Dude.
He knows, man. He's so good.
How many times have we had this fucking conversation about him? He gets better and better every time we speak about him. He does more and more amazing stuff. He
gets it.
Yeah.
You know what? That's the only way you can describe it.
I've got an amazing idea for a spot, and I tell you guys exactly how you're going to shoot that spot to make it look amazing as well.
Because it's not about how it looks on TV, it's about how do we make that a viral moment on the internet. Because for all his flaws, he knows how to do it. You know,
that's a 20-second clip, isn't it?
Yeah, 20 second. It's just an absolute thing of beauty. It's the fact that it goes from like basically his front, and it scans round to the back, and then I don't know if he planned this bit, but when he does like the Triple H spray of the Prime, like the camera's behind him, and it's
so you
like
can see it all.
It's just it's
everybody in the room who watched it, who I was watching it with, were like, "Fuck me! Did you see that?" Like everybody, everyone sort of like stopped and went. Quite obviously, there's quite a few of us watching it. We were laughing and having a joke and sort of, you know, I mean, just shooting the shit and stuff. And like everybody just went, oh, "What? Oh, did you see that?" Like everyone in the room just stopped, and it was sick. It was really good, really good match. And I say it again, this guy literally looks like he's been wrestling for 10 years.
Yeah,
he's better than anyone in NXT. There's no one in NXT that's close to this guy, and he's probably better than 30% of people who are actually on the main roster in terms of their work and their selling and their charisma. He's fucking phenomenal.
See, and again, this is where the discussion comes in terms of AEW. Oh, you know, WWE get like
Kelly's trying to run in, trying to grab them on her. Wait, there she is!
Hey. Our special guest in Market of 10.
Kelly's doing a run in. Hot tag. Sorry, Oh, look at this. Sorry, mate. Little kiddies England top. Look at that. Oh, I don't think it's going to fit me, Carl. Yeah, right. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No.
It was a good, mate. It was a good pay-per-view. The Nia Jax, we had a conversation about this. Lyra Valkyria is very hard to see. You have to think about it before you see it. It does not pass the name test at all. If it was Lyra Valkyrie, then that's okay. But it's Lyra Valkyria, and it's really, really difficult to see when you're having a conversation without thinking about it. It does not pass the name test. That needs to be changed. But she is really good.
She's phenomenal.
Really good.
Phenomenal.
She's also really attractive.
She's fucking hot.
She's gone.
What?
She's fit as fuck. Sami Zayn and Chad Gable was an angle match. It could have been on Raw. Not a Kurt Angle match. Just an angle match. It literally could have been on Raw. Chad Gable should have had Sami Zayn's spot at WrestleMania.
Yep. Said that in the watch along, right? I should have been Chad Gable's.
Liv Morgan and Becky was hard work because Liv Morgan is the size of a toddler. She looks phenomenal. She's a beautiful lady. She's got everything in all the right places, but she cannot work a lick, and it's like watching slow motion replays of somebody trying to work. It's just...
She's a transition champion until Rhea Ripley comes back.
How the fuck did they let Rhea Ripley get injured in a backstage angle selling a fucking beatdown? I've broke my pen. I've snapped my pen. I'm fuming. I've had this pen literally since we started this fucking podcast, and I've just snapped it in half. Can I bend it back?
But the thing is, I'm thinking overall payoff. Can you imagine the pop? Like, let's say Liv goes on this run until Rhea comes back, and then Rhea comes in and just squashes the fuck out of her, because that's what will happen. She'll come back as an absolute fucking monster.
Beat her in 2 minutes.
Yeah, not even that. Literally, it's going to be Riptide, and then that's it. All bets are off. 1, 2, 3, and new champion.
No, I can't. I don't. What's that? What's her name? Samantha Irvin. Grizzly Death. We had a conversation about
really
her on Saturday.
like her, right?
Mate, she literally... She gives me some form of incurable disease every time I have to listen to her.
She gives me the
herpes. Honestly, she gives me... Oh, it's fucking... Oral fucking... Auditory syphilis is what I get from Samantha Irvin. Hi, TikTok.
Clap it! Okay, so I think...
Not for me.
I think that's good. So, we're going to talk about, as long as we can justify it's fine. Because, as I said, WCW Japan use up to £225. WWE uses £205. So, you know.
Apparently, Becky Lynch is on £3.1 million dollars as well a year. So, that's some big time shit. Anyway. Go on.
Okay, Mr. Hawks. Are we ready?
Are you ready?
No, I said, are you ready? Okay. Who wants to go first?
Do you know what, mate? Age before beauty. You go first.
Right. My number 10. And I hate it already. It's like like I'm looking at my list here, right? Because I've got it right in front of me. I don't like it, but I'm going to go with it. You know, it is what it is. My number 10 is Chris Jericho.
Okay.
Now, obviously, everybody, when you think of Chris Jericho, you don't automatically think of him as a cruiserweight. You think of him as Y2J when he came to WWE, you know, interrupting The Rock and then, you know, becoming the undisputed champion, intercontinental champion, some great matches with like Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, etc. But there was a period of time when he was in WCW. He was really unappreciated in WCW, and that was like the mid-90s. You know, he was putting on some incredible matches, and it's testament to the talent of him, right? You know, not just the matches, but you know, some of the man of 1,004 holds, armbar. You know, it's just. I feel really sorry talking about Chris Jericho now because he's become a parody and a meme of himself, you know, and it's such a fall from grace from such a great professional wrestler. Like I say,
I've said it before. Jericho was my favorite wrestler for a long time, and he is definitely fallen down the list. Obviously, it doesn't bother him because he's still making millions and $1 million a year, but it's just frustrating, very frustrating.
Yeah. But yeah, I think if you look at any discussions in terms of cruiserweights, excuse me, it's always interesting to see the names that you don't really think of, and Jericho's always on that list. And I think if you take away
for a reason, mate,
he's one of the best ever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, take away the last like 5-6 years, right? How long's the AEW been going? It just feels like 5-6 years.
Yeah, it's 2019.
So there we go, 5 years, and you know, take that away, he's got to be known as one of the best ever. And I think it's very fair that he's on this list because his stuff in WCW was excellent. So, yeah, that's why he's on there. I don't like it, but he's on my list. So there
Don't like it?
I don't like it.
That's a fucking reference, isn't it? Jesus Christ.
Okay, moving on.
Go on.
No, it's you. Number 10.
Yeah. My number 10, and I said I prefaced this, it's very difficult. There was a lot of people on my list. I had to get this person on the list. He was very, very close to being my honourable mention, but there's a really good honourable mention, and there's a reason why. Honourable mention. Sounds like I'm absolutely pissed up by saying honourable mention. My number 10 is Bryan Danielson.
Okay.
Daniel Bryan. He epitomizes at one point in time. You got to think back. Daniel Bryan has been around for a very, very long time. He's coming up to 20, 25 years, maybe, wrestling now. We forget. Everyone thinks of Daniel Bryan as just like the yes guy in WWE, like the guy who came in and sort of done all that shit from like 2000 and fucking whatever it is. What year was that yes stuff? It's got to be 2012, 13, something like that.
Because he was retired for a bit, wasn't he? So
it was before his retirement.
Yeah.
So like we got to think he's been around for a very, very, very long time. When you think of smaller guys, and like I said, we're not talking about the best small men ever. We're talking about like cruiserweights, like heavyweights or whatever. This guy's billed at probably 205, 210.
Yeah.
He's probably really 180, 185 pounds, jacked up to the gills. He probably is. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yep.
He's probably. There's an argument to be said. He's probably the greatest wrestler still active and alive right now. In terms of like all-time players, he was Ring of Honor champ. Some of the stuff that he did in Ring of Honor, like if we talk, like I sort of prefaced this, and there's a few in this list that I prefaced as well. It's not just doing 450 Vernon Schnabitzes. His submission game, his technical wrestling, he can do high spots. He can work, he can sell, he can bring people on board with them. He's funny. He's charismatic. He can work as a face. He can work as a heel. He's wrestled everywhere in the world. He's wrestled everybody that's probably ever needed to be wrestled in the world and still been one of the best doing it. He had almost another career before he was signed to WWE.
Yeah.
You got to think about what he did. If you look at his accolades and obviously the stuff that's happening now, the AEW stuff, maybe not so much now, but that run as champ when he was having those matches against Omega, the Iron match against fucking MJF was just fucking amazing. He's wrestled in All Japan. He's wrestled in New Japan. He's wrestled in Dragon Gate. He's wrestled in fucking WWE. He's wrestled in TNA. He's wrestled, obviously, he's probably the greatest Ring of Honor wrestler of all time. Like everywhere he went, every single place he wrestled, he was phenomenal.
Yep.
All of the accolades, like Wrestler of the Year and all this bullshit, best technical wrestler and all that stuff, as a smaller guy. And he went to the biggest company in the world at one of the biggest WrestleManias up until that point and beat two of the greatest of all time in the same match to win the belts, the big belts.
Yep.
And he made that happen. So he transitioned from being the cruiserweight, light heavyweight guy to being the biggest, holding the biggest championship in wrestling. That's if he doesn't go on a list of like the top 10 smaller guys or whatever, it's bogus, man. It's bogus. Like he was undisputed. It's WWE and World Heavyweight Championship, wasn't it?
Yep.
So it was big gold belt and the WWE Championship at the same time. Just mate, just so good, so good. When he's on it, and he's not falling apart, which he is now, which is a struggle to watch him. But when he's on it and he's in there and he's healthy-ish and healthy, there's no one alive now or active now. Sorry, not alive, active now. Nobody can touch him.
Yeah,
it's too much, man. He's so good.
Yeah.
I've just talked myself into maybe trying to put him higher in my list. I can't believe he's just at number 10, but he had to get on there. So he's not the traditional cruiserweight, but he is a smaller guy. He is what you would class. He would fall in, if you were to do it on a piece of paper, he would fall in on weight or whatever. He would fall into that category, right?
So he was on my first, because I've done two lists. He was on my
you
first
said this
list.
earlier on, didn't you? You've redone it, yeah.
He was, and then I took him off because, as you say, I started referring to him as a smaller guy as opposed to a cruiserweight, and that's the sort of distinction I made for the second list. But he was definitely on my first list. Like you say, one of the best ever, right? I mean, the talent the man's got in ring is just incredible. And when he first started in I'm just going to refer to WWE, I don't think he got over as quickly in WWE because there was a sort of an apparent lack of charisma, but there was just something that clicked and he just like skyrocketed, man. It's just unreal.
It's a dry sort of black humor almost to it. The Team Hell No thing with him and Kane.
Genius.
With the what was the fucking doctor's name? They were doing the sessions, weren't they? The thingy sessions. And they were going and like the hug thing and the Kane and Daniel Bryan. Dr. Shelby. The two most opposites ever. That was like, creative's got nothing for you. We're going to put you and him together, see if it takes off or whatever. And it was the biggest thing at the time. It was the biggest thing going. It was amazing. Just daft, but it got over and it showed what he could do. Was it let's hug it out? Hug it out. Is that the thing? Yeah. I've forgotten my missus's birthday to have that information in my brain. It's there. But yeah, man, Daniel Bryan Danielson, whichever way you want to take it, he can go. He can do every single thing you need off him. He is like Kurt Angle level talent, if you know what I mean. Just amazing. Yeah, Number 10.
Good shout.
Bryan
Number
Danielson.
10, Bryan Danielson. I love it. Okay.
I'll stop talking about him now. We'll be here all fucking night.
Okie dokie. Solid start from number 10s, Jericho and Danielson. Okay, over to your number 9, Hoxie.
My number 9 is a little bit left field, but it is Rob Van Dam. Does that count? I think it counts.
He was on my first list. So, yeah.
It counts.
It counts.
So
yeah.
it's very, very similar almost to like the justification for Bryan Danielson. When he started, he was a smaller guy. And when you talk about high flyers, he really is or was or whatever, a high-flying cruiserweight talent. Every time someone says to Rob Van Dam to me, the first thing that I have, the first sort of go-to that I have is Jerry Lynn. Mm-hmm. So I have Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn. Their matches they had in that sort of 90s, late 90s period in ECW, they go down in history as like some of the greatest sort of matches of that style ever. And I think they were probably 10, 15, 20 years ahead of the time. And B, they probably set the tone for what we see, or at least some of the tone, or maybe reminded, as we'll talk about a little bit later on in my list, they probably reminded people of the tone for now, of what's going on now, and the kind of guys that we see, like a Bryan Anderson, like a Ricochet, like a whoever. You know, I mean, these guys now who sort of wrestle that style. Rob Van Dam was one of the, I don't want to say pioneers, but one of the go-to talents for that level of performance and that sort of moveset and that style of wrestling. We talk about what he could do. Mate, he could do fucking everything. And he was over as shit. And once again, he got himself that over, and he was that good, he managed to win the big belt, the biggest belt for the biggest company. And that was one of my favorite fucking episodes. We need to watch that just together, even if we don't do it on here. Just watch that pay-per-view, because that Cena match was some
unreal
fucking top shit. That one night stand show was amazing. But
the crowd was visceral, man. It was just fucking carnage, right?
The t-shirt thing and all that. So like, good. if Cena wins, we riot. Like that's where it started, wasn't it? That fair sign was there. He was heel on that night. Don't care what anyone says. Everyone says, "Oh, Cena's never been a heel." He was a heel on that show. We forget he was in WCW for a little bit.
Yeah,
Rob Van Dam, All Japan, obviously ECW, made his name in ECW. The television championship thing, he was longest reigning TV champ. He had it pretty much till they went tits up, right? I think he had it when they went bust. He was still the champ. Going to the WWE, fucking everything he did, TNA, like every single place he went, he was one of the top guys. And he's, you might say now he's probably a bit bigger because he's a bit jacked up and he's a bit older and he's a bit heavy or whatever. But back in the day, he didn't break 200 pounds, not even close.
No.
And some of the shit that he was doing, I mean, his fucking finish is a 5-star frog splash, which is a massive high spot. Especially back in the day, the way he used to get that fucking height and bounce off that he'd do like a front flip when he hits it, wouldn't he? You know what I mean? Like, it was so good. 100%. He was one of the names that was on here, and I was like, he has to be on there. I dropped a real big name off to get him off this list, to get him on this list.
Wow, okay.
But I'm very, very, very happy that I did. Rob Van Dam, RVD,
the whole fucking show,
the whole effing show, exactly.
Okay, good start. I mean, we've had 3 options, and they're not technically. None of them are technically.
They are. Shush! What are you on about?
Justification is everything.
Everything, mate.
Okay, my number 9, and I think he's probably the first real cruiserweight when you think of it. Mine's is actually Taka Michinoku.
Okay.
Everybody thinks of Taka Michinoku in terms of Kai and Tai,
Kai
the
and
tag
Tai,
team,
yeah.
you know, and the comedy, sort of the usual like Asian comedy thing that the WWF did at that time. They were a great tag
Some
team.
may
By
say
the way.
racist.
Some might say we wouldn't,
Yeah.
but some might say.
Some
But
might
you know, they were
say.
actually, him and Funaki were a really good tag team. But he was actually the first. He was the first recognised WWE light heavyweight champion. He held the title for, I think it was 315 days. I think it was. You know, so straight away he's like got a piece of WWE history. No one could take that away from him. He had some really solid matches, but he was the quintessential light heavyweight champion for WWF at that time. Yeah, I mean, I still think the Michinoku driver is one of the coolest finishers ever.
Yes, I love it. It's sick.
Incredible.
And it was over as fuck as well.
Yeah.
As soon as he hit it,
that was
game over.
Done.
That was it. Yeah.
It was a proper finish, right?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
that's
yes,
what's
yes,
wrong.
yes.
That's what's wrong today. It's like there is no proper finishes. You know, and he suffered a horrible cheek injury. If you remember, he got fucking hurtled over the top rope and landed face first. I think it fractured, like it exploded his cheekbone, and he was never the same in WF again. But he still wrestles to this day. He wrestles in New Japan.
He's got his own promotion.
Yeah, it's Kaintai Dojo, I think it is. It's called. But yeah, I think he was going to be my number 10. But I couldn't put Jericho higher than him. It's just because, you know, so that's the reason that we switched over. But yeah, I always enjoyed watching Taka Michinoku in the ring. It's like you can go back and watch some quality matches.
Yeah,
like Kai and Tai were great. Funaki's not on my list, but I always like that just because the Michinoku driver's so cool.
I can remember watching like some of the earlier pay-per-views when the light heavyweight championship was more of a thing, and he had like matches like S.A. Rios and things like that, like on some of the In Your House shows and that, and like some of the pay-per-views. He's been involved in training a lot of the guys that we see now as well, especially coming through Japan. He was trained by the guy who I actually got rid of for my number 9, so he was trained by the Great Sasuke as well. Now you look at some of the matches they had together when they were on doing pay-per-views and doing sort of around the horn. The Great Sasuke and Taka Michinoku were like, you can see, if you want to see chemistry, watch some of their matches from back in the day. Fucking amazing. But he was ECW, he was in CMLL, he was in AAA, he was in WWF, he was in Noah, he was in fucking New Japan, he was in All Japan. He's had his own fucking promotions. Like, he's still training guys at the dojo for New Japan. He's still doing shows with the New Japan guys as well. Yes, please. He was on my wider list, took him off. But he's a big deal. Big deal. I think
underappreciated.
I was literally just about to say, I don't think you realise how much of an impact this guy has had within wrestling. Yeah, great shout, mate.
Yeah,
I'm happy you spoke about Taka, because then I could speak about Taka as well. So yeah,
there we go.
I'm sneaking a cheeky 11th maybe, but there we go.
Okay, moving on. So my number 8 is Psychosis.
Okay.
Is that another one that should have been on your list?
He was in my wider list.
Yeah. Oh, well, we can talk about Psychosis. Yeah. So, obviously, mid-90s, that's when the sort of Lucha Libre boom happened in the US, right? And Psychosis was one of the forefronts of that. You know, the horned mask.
So good.
It started in, what date is it here? Let me see. 1994. He filmed in When Worlds Collide, the AAA pay-per-view in LA, and that's when he became like a recognised face in America. Then he had, in ECW, he had the trio matches with fucking Rey Mysterio, and I mean, I could just leave it there, you know, just in terms of those matches are incredible. Paul Heyman referenced it in his Hall of Fame speech, you know, like those matches were insane.
I'm just going to jump in really quick. I'm just going to cut you off really quick.
Yep.
If there is anything, we're an hour in or whatever we're in. If there's anything to take away from this show tonight and this list tonight, go on the WWE network. Most people are going to be listening to this. Pretty much everyone's going to have it. If not, I'm pretty sure you'll find it on YouTube. Go and watch the Psychosis and Rey Mysterio matches from them. Those ECW pay-per-views. You will have your fucking mind blown out of your arse with how good they were.
It's crazy, right?
Carry on.
Absolutely.
Sorry. Go
No,
on.
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
So they had so Rey Mysterio Jr. and him had those trio matches. They then moved to WCW, and WCW had a great cruiserweight division, but they just didn't know what to do with it. Right, that was the main thing about WCW. Right, he feuded with some of the great people, great cruiserweights at the time. He feuded against, I think it was in '97. He feuded with Ultimo Dragon. He never ever beat Ultimo Dragon during that feud, which was incredible. He joined up with like Eddie Guerrero's Mexican World Order. Like he was involved in so many different things. He had a 1 week cruiserweight title reign. He is one of the only luchadors that I can like remember that was unmasked multiple times. It's like just the disrespect to the lucha libre sort of heritage. It's crazy. It's like you think about some of the stuff that he did. You know, he fought Ultimo Dragon, Rey Mysterio Jr., he fought Billy Kidman. You know, just so many great matches they had, and it's just such a shame that WCW shat the bed with their cruiserweight division. But it's not just WCW and ECW. He was in XPW, TNA, All Japan, you know, AAA. He went to WWE as part of the Mexicools. Let's not talk about that. You know, and he's just different class when it comes to it. But like you say, the 3 matches he had with Mysterio, watch them because just do it. If you listen to anything and mark it at 10, just watch those matches.
I think we're quite good at recommending stuff, to be fair.
Yeah.
I think in the stuff that we really push for, I don't think anyone would be able to watch what we recommend and be like, that's fucking shit. So take our word on this, guys. Take our word on this. So Psychosis is a carpenter. He provides like the framework for the other guys to get over. He could have been quite easily the guy, but for whatever reason, he never was the guy, but he was always there to help the guys get over. He's the carpenter of that sort of cruiserweight division. Now, everybody, and I mean, there's 2 ways you can look at this. Everybody gives Eric Bischoff credit for creating the cruiserweights and sort of doing that. Maybe Eric Bischoff provided a bigger platform for the cruiserweights to get over. So you can credit him with that in terms of making it a bigger deal. Every single WWE show, WCW pay-per-view or show or whatever started off with a cruiserweight match, didn't it? It was like, that was the big, let's get them all going, you know what I mean? Big thing. But
Yeah.
it was, I would probably credit Paul Heyman in ECW for giving the cruiserweights, in big inverted commas for people who are listening to this audio, like big inverted commas, the guys who went to WCW for bigger money were doing the stuff in 1994, 1995 in ECW. The Mysterios, the Benoits, the fucking Jerichos, the Psychoses, all those guys were doing that a year, 2 years before in ECW than they were doing it on a fucking Nitro or a pay-per-view. You know what I mean? So my original point, Psychosis was some top shit, but he was always there. He was even doing it in TNA with AJ Styles and Jerry Lynn when he was there, and the Kazarians and the Petey Williamses and stuff. He was there to make those guys look amazing, but he was better than they were doing
Always
that.
the bridesmaid, never the bride.
Never the bride. Yes, Shields.
High TikTok.
I knew there's a reason. I knew there's a reason why I'm doing this podcast with you, mate. I knew. You're Scottish, man, and you're better at English than me. How does that even make sense?
I'm smart as fuck, boy.
Cheers, mate. That's
Cheers.
quality. Yeah,
So yeah,
quality.
my number 8 is Psychosis.
I just love talking about wrestling, mate.
That's good.
It's not necessarily just a list. It's just like having a chat about people and stuff. Like
The reason we do the list is to actually focus our fucking minds, because this is usually 3 hours of us talking garbage.
it's just ADHD, just everywhere, just smothered. Piece of candy.
Why do you think I write everything down just so I know what the fuck I'm going to say next? It's like ADHD. Mark out of 10, sponsored by Ritalin.
The most acoustic duo in podcasting that's ever been. Anyway, yeah,
okay.
Class Psychosis.
On to your
Great
number
show.
8, Hoxie boy.
Oh, I've got a tight chest. My number 8 is Dean Malenko. Where, like, what can you fucking say about Dean Malenko really than just he was a fucking beast? Like, if he was 6'2", he would have been one of the biggest names in wrestling ever. You know what I mean? Like, he's a big name. We talk about the history of wrestling, especially that 90s wrestling period or whatever. But dude, he started wrestling in like fucking like the early 80s.
Yep.
He was wrestling for fucking forever before he got into WCW. He was mid-30s, late 30s, maybe, before he was probably, fuck me. I need to Google it. Hold on. I need to see how old he was. Sorry, I probably should have wrote this down. So he was born in 1960.
We've got to focus. That's why we have a list.
That's why I have a list. So he debuted in 1979. That's fucking crazy. His brother Joe Malenko as well. There's a match on YouTube, and it's Joe Malenko and Dean Malenko. I think it's against like fucking, oh my god, it's British Bulldog and Dynamite Kids. It's the British Bulldogs against Joe Malenko and Dean Malenko on YouTube. Another match recommendation. Sorry, go and fucking watch it. If there's any wrestlers watching this, or people who want to wrestle, or are learning to wrestle, or training to wrestle, go and watch that fucking match. It's amazing, and it's a great example of storytelling and building to hot tags, but it's also got lots and lots of technical wrestling in there as well. Anyway, sorry, I'll shut up now. So, Dean Malenko, one of the best ever, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time in terms of like technical mat submission wrestling, the man of 1,000 holds. That was probably a shoot as well.
Yeah.
I am pretty sure if you gave him a list, he would probably be able to, to do 1,000 holds. The big cruiserweight period of time of that mid-90s, like 95 to 2000, whatever, till they shut up 2001, Malenko was a big deal. The jump across to obviously WWE with the Radicals, like he was presented in a way with those guys. What a fucking group, by the way, the Radicals. We'll probably have a big discussion about them at some point down the line, but Dean Malenko was just he was a trailblazer for that style coming through the 80s into that 90s period. He's still regarded as one of the best ever cruiserweights of all time now. He's got Parkinson's. He's in a bad way, but he's still helping people if they want to listen to him in AEW now, today. And the fact, obviously, Jericho and him had that feud. One of the best fucking segments in wrestling history, and the best promos in wrestling history, with the 1,004 holds and the list and all that shit. He's worth it just to get on the list for that, for me. But you can't have a cruiserweight list without a Dean Malenko. I just think he's a special talent and a great performer. Everyone says, "Oh, but he wasn't good on the mic." The fact that he knew and he owned it and he used that as a positive is a really, really good thing. You know what I mean? Like the just going out and walking to the ring, just walking with purpose, no selling nothing on his face. You know what I mean? Just being that cold, like killer wrestler is amazing. Dean Malenko, number 8, easy peasy. Love him.
Talk about him later.
I thought we would. Good shit.
Okay.
Good shit.
Okay, you're number 7, Mr. Hawks.
Oh shit.
Finish your list, Mr. Hawks.
So this is hard for me. There's a reason why I put this guy at number 7. He should be higher, but there's lots of stuff above him which I couldn't justify to myself why he was higher up. So I thought I'm going to put him at number 7 because it's my lucky number. I've got a little 7 tattoo on my arm. It's my lucky number.
I've got a name in my head I think it's going to be. I just want to see if I'm right.
Okay.
Go for it.
It's AJ Styles.
It's not. Okay. Interesting.
Once again, it's a story for me. It's a bit of a weird one. It's not necessarily a theme, but I'm looking at my list and thinking about there's 2 people already on there that were quite a similar not justification to be like the greatest ever, but a justification to be sort of
In the
boosted
discussion.
up, if you know what I mean, boosted up to another level. This is a guy who was not a fan of wrestling. He didn't watch wrestling when he was a kid. He had a friend who, when he was at college, I'm going to go to this wrestling thing. Do you want to come with me? Because I don't want to go by myself, and I'm not necessarily like confident about going here by myself. So he was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll go with him. Nothing else to do. That guy lasted a month and quit, and AJ Styles became AJ Styles, which to me is amazing. It just fucking boggles my mind.
Door, right?
Yeah. He turned pro in 1998. His first television match was on WCW. Was on a Thunder show, which is fucking nuts when you think about. Because I always say this. I make a joke about it. And this is a big shout out to fucking Conrad Thompson as well, of numerous podcasts that I listen to. He always compares people's age to how old AJ Styles is right now. So like, we're talking about like Hogan and fucking Macho Man when they were like getting put out to fucking pasture and stuff. It's like, well, AJ Styles is like 44 years old. Like Macho Man was 42 when they were trying to put him on commentary and stuff. It's like crazy. Like AJ Styles has been around forever. He's been fucking everywhere. Like WCW. He done a few. It wasn't Heat. What was the fucking other mad show that WWF done in the early 2000s? There was another like magazine show that they did, and they'd have like one or two matches on there. It wasn't Heat. There was another one, but he was. No, it wasn't Superstars. Obviously, he was on the Independents. One of the biggest names in the Independents ever. Huge early talent for Ring of Honor and TNA. He was signed to Ring of Honor before he was signed to TNA. He was doing double duty. He was doing Ring of Honor shows and TNA shows. But his main promotion, and this is what a lot of people forget, his main promotion was Ring of Honor before he was a TNA. Because he's classed as like this TNA original. Obviously, we spoke about him earlier on. Like, could he come back to TNA and do his last run and stuff? Like, he was a Ring of Honor talent before he was a TNA talent. Don't forget that.
Was it WWF Metal?
Metal. So he was on a few metal shows. He wrestled. There's a match. I'm sure it's on YouTube. He wrestled Hurricane Helms on Metal, on whatever show it was. But for like, it was almost like a bit of a tryout kind of thing for him, and he didn't kind of make it. Oh, he's so small. He couldn't wrestle a child. Like, fuck off, Vince. You got no idea. You look at the X division is literally the Cruiserweights division, right? Yeah. You can say whatever you want. The X division means there are no rules. Well, they're all fucking 200-pound guys who are wrestling in the X division, apart from Samoa Joe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, fuck off. The greatest X division champion ever. Not even close.
Absolutely not even close.
In the best TNA, one of the best TNA matches of all time, but the best X division match of all time. The Unbreakable pay-per-view. Yep. With Daniels and Samoa Joe.
Once again, we've said this before in the podcast. Fucking watch that match. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. Sorry.
Oh, God. It's just a
so
match. I still think it is it's the only 5-star match TNA have ever had.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Obviously moved up then to be TNA champ. The whole fortune thing with Flair and all that bullshit, just mad. Fucked off. Went to the Indies. There's a match. This is also on YouTube. Whether it's been taken down yet, I don't know. I've got no idea. But there is a match between AJ Styles and Noam Dar from a independent show in the UK from like 2000 and fucking whenever it is, 2012 or something, 2010, whatever it was. If you type in AJ Styles versus Noam Dar, I'm pretty sure there's not going to be many AJ Styles, but it is fucking amazing. So he went to the Indies and did what he needed to do. Obviously, fast forward however much, and he ends up going to New Japan and starting the Bullet Club, which is just big boy shit. Still going now. He was the IWGP heavyweight champion.
Yep.
As a cruiserweight size guy. The first Wrestle Kingdom that I watched was AJ Styles' title match that I watched when that whole shit was going off. And then obviously signed to the WWE. When you're going in the ring against a John Cena, and John Cena comes back through the curtain and he says, "Holy fucking shit, this guy's incredible," I think you're all right. You're doing all right, right? I think you can make it on the list when you get a pat on the back from John Cena. He was the champ. He was US champ. Has he had the Intercontinental champion? I don't know.
He debuted at one of the big four. You know,
Royal
he
Rumble.
debuted at Rumble. You know, I mean,
and what a fucking debut that was. Talk about
Unbelievable.
surprises and fucking introductions and stuff. I can remember watching that live. I watched that live, and I was messaging everybody that I knew that was fucking about. Holy shit, he's here! Amazing, amazing. He's done everything there is to do in wrestling. He's done it. He's been there. He's done it. I'm just gonna have a quick look on, to see if he's won the IC belt. I don't know if he's won the IC belt or not.
He was the last match Undertaker, the film, the cinematic match as well.
I forget about that.
You know, and you know, again, you're talking about Cena going backstage. The fact that Taker always goes, you know, I just wish that I could have wrestled AJ like 10 years earlier. You know, it's like it would have been incredible.
If you think about how good the Shawn Michaels and Taker matches were, AJ Styles, I know it's not like the personality of Shawn Michaels and like the people would get behind it because it's Shawn Michaels, but the match would be as good as the Shawn Michaels matches with AJ.
And dream match. AJ
Don't fucking at me.
AJ versus Shawn Michaels would have been.
Don't. I seem to have wet my pantaloons. So he's Triple Crown.
Is he
more than Triple Crown? So he's WWE champion twice,
Yep.
Intercontinental champion once, United States champion 3 times, and the tag team champions once. He's the 32nd Triple Crown champion and the 15th Grand Slam champion, 22nd overall, Slammy Award winner, Wrestling Observer Best Flying Wrestler 2005, Best Wrestling Maneuver 2003 and 2015. That's a fucking gap. Most Outstanding Wrestler 2014 to 2016. Pro Wrestling Match of the Year 2014 against Minoru Suzuki. Wrestler of the Year 2015 2016, coinciding with when he was in Japan. Obviously, Dave was wanking himself fucking silly over that. United States and Canada MVP. Worst Worked Match of the Year. The 2006 TNA Reverse Battle Royal and the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame Class of 2017. So whatever that's worth, it's bullshit. Sports Illustrated, here we go. We're talking about a real thing now. And Rolling Stone, ranked number 4 of the top 10 men's wrestlers in 2018 in Sports Illustrated and number 2 of the top 10 wrestlers in 2017. And he is the WWE Wrestler of the Year 2016 in the Rolling Stone magazine. Yeah, amazing. Amazing.
AJ is an anomaly, right? Because you think of because he was a high flyer, he was a big risk taker, right?
Yep.
And the fact he's still going, I think that just shows his the way he's kept his body in check a little bit. You know, he knows when he needs to take time off. He doesn't just he isn't a spot monkey. He doesn't do the spot just for the sake of it. It has to mean something, and I think that's what like makes him different to any other of the spot monkeys that we'll call him.
Makes him special, very special. We'll do a podcast in 20 years' time, and we'll be talking about the good old days or whatever. But we won't necessarily be talking about the good old days, and he will be on the list of some of the best wrestlers ever.
100%.
Yeah,
he's not on my cruiserweight list, but totally understand that.
He was another one of those cheeky ones.
Yeah.
That I had to.
No, I get it. Totally get it.
You know what I mean? He isn't necessarily maybe a traditional all the way through cruiserweight, but he is a cruiserweight size. He wrestled in a cruiserweight division and a cruiserweight style for a very, very long time. he could chop in and change and go to, maybe not now. He's probably about 280 pounds now. The fucking size of him, Jesus Christ! AJ Styles now ate 2005 AJ Styles for breakfast this morning. That's how big he is. It's ridiculous.
Massive.
But from Gainesville, Georgia, mate, AJ Styles, Alan Jones, big boy shit.
Great shout.
Have you, by the way, just a quick aside, have you ever heard the interview when he was on the radio and they oh shit, and they said he was a gay icon? Have you ever seen this? Have you ever heard this?
No.
He lost his shit big time.
Big Georgia boy. Right?
Yeah, he's a big Christian guy as well. Big boy Christian guy. He's in that Mason Dixon line, isn't he? That fucking Bible Belt.
Dear.
Talking about going and listening to some shit. Fucking go and listen to that radio interview. He loses his fucking head. It's phenomenal.
The views
No
of AJ
pun
Styles do
intended.
not reflect the views of
Mutan. But yeah, good shit. Really good shit. But yeah, AJ Styles, number 7.
It's a great shout. Like I say, he's not on my list, but I totally understand the justification, Hoxie boy. Okay,
Dude, this is a fun list. I'm sorry. I'm sorry
good.
to cut you off again. This is a really, really fun list. I feel like we're talking about like fun, our own fun wrestling shit again. It's good.
Yeah.
I like it. It's a
my
good one.
number 7. Okay, and I enjoyed watching this guy. It's Tajiri, the Japanese buzzsaw.
He was the last one off the list.
No way.
You nearly went on to number 10 instead of Bryan Danielson. Dude, I swear to God.
That's
He was
unreal.
the last one.
Tajiri, 3-time Cruiserweight champion. His first run was his longest reign. I can't recall what the longest reign was, though, off the top of my head. But his third reign was probably the best. He brought like a consistency to the Cruiserweight division. Because, again, it's so disrespected, the Cruiserweight division. Doesn't matter what company you go to in history. It's always been disrespected. But Tajiri was such a solid hand, you know. During his third run, like I say, that was probably his best one. He was a heel and he was a bad fucker, right? He was a bad heel. It's like he had his henchmen. It was Sakura and
One moment caller.
Yeah.
One moment caller.
Akio. That's who it was. It was Akio, and he was just a bad fucker, you know. And it's what's testament to how good a heel he was. He had a match with Rey Mysterio at No Mercy, right? And that match was fucking insane. And we all know how amazing Rey Mysterio is, and no doubt we'll talk about him later on in the list, right? But it's testament to how good Tajiri was that Rey Mysterio beating him was a massive deal. You know, it was a huge deal when like Mysterio beat him for the title. Again, it was on a SmackDown. I think it was in New Year's and stuff. You know, then he went on to do the sort of comedy stuff with William Regal. You know, it was just,
which was class.
It was
by the way.
so good. It's
Yeah.
like, again, that's just William Regal's genius. Tajiri played it so well, but you know, his kicks were stiff as a motherfucker. You know, it was it was a Japanese buzzsaw, and yeah, I think when you talk about cruiserweights, especially for WWF, and not just WWF in terms of he travelled the world, he still does, I believe. Big ECW mark as well. He was there in ECW, so. Yeah, he had to be on my list somewhere. Yeah, so Tajiri.
There's some stuff that he did before he went to ECW when he was in WWE, and he was Yoshihiro Tajiri, and he wore like tights. He was like he was doing like wrestling. It was like heavyweight title stuff. And then when he went to ECW, was like the long, like baggy, like pleather pants with he was badass.
Yeah,
one of my favorite moves in wrestling ever is the tarantula.
Yeah, it's so good, right?
The wraparound rope like hold. I fucking love that so much.
It's because it's just so quick, right?
I tried doing it once when I was training. I'm way too big to be doing that. The rope just went and I couldn't grab the legs. I wanted to do it. Like, this was 10 years ago, like back in the day. Like, I really wanted to do it. But some of the matches they had in ECW with Tajiri and the stuff when he came back to WWE, that he was class. I love Tajiri. He's one of my...
He's a guilty pleasure.
Mate, you're there tonight. You're on it
I'm
tonight.
on it.
Yeah. Bridesmaid of the Bride, Guilty Pleasure. Yes, mate. Yes. He's the snack that you have at midnight when you're not meant to be eating a snack. He's I'm just going to grab a little bit from the kitchen. I'm going to order that naughty dessert or that naughty takeaway or whatever. That's Tajiri. Yes.
Master of the Green Mist as well.
Love it.
Yeah,
Amazing.
So,
mate,
so
I'm sure he's still wrestling. I'm
yeah,
sure he's still doing stuff.
I'm just having a look just now. Major League Wrestling, Kyushu Pro Wrestling.
Is he in MLW?
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
He was the champion. He lost the title to Myron Reed in January 2022. So I think he still dabbles. So there you go. Yeah, but he had to be on my list of cruiserweights. So there we go.
Sick.
Okay.
Love it.
Moving on. My number 6 is a man you've mentioned. It's Mr. Dean Malenko. Man of 1,000 holds. He's just incredible, right? He was voted the single greatest wrestler in 1997. So he was by PWI. He was
Wrestler of the Year.
Wrestler of the Year. That just shows how good he was. And again, if you think about who was wrestling in '97,
that was the year of fucking like Goldberg and stuff as well. Like, that was like the big year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Stone Cold, Shawn Michaels. Like, you're beating those guys to a Wrestler of the Year in 1997. You're doing all right? Yeah.
And then obviously, if you think about after he was wrestling, it's like the amount of the people he's trained. He trained Kane. It's like, wow. So there you go. He trained Kane. He's just so good he had, like you say, it was that sort of deadpan face, but he's so sound in the ring, right? It was like
class,
one of the best delayed vertical suplex, and then when he lands it was like the spin round to pin them straight away. Everything looked so exact, so precise. It was just so good.
He used to do that backbreaker from like the ropes as well.
Yep.
Where he'd like come off the middle rope or the top rope and do a backbreaker, like land on his knees, and like he wouldn't buckle. He looked brutal. Yeah.
He was so sturdy is the right word, right? And
safe. Stable.
Safe. You could pick him up and you could put, again, we say this about certain wrestlers, you could pick him up and put him in any era and he would just have absolute bangers matches with anybody, right?
Imagine him now.
It's just insane.
When you look at some of the guys who were like his size, like you look at like a Darby Allin or a Daniel Garcia or an Orange Cassidy, the way they're presented now in an AEW. Imagine what he could do in an AEW now, like
crazy
with how good he is and what he has, and his.
I think he's a victim of the fact that he was there in the early 2000s because that was the time where it was the big personalities, and he didn't have that. He didn't have the big personality, which was a shame. I would pay
a considerable amount of money to watch a Dean Malenko versus Zack Sabre Jr. match right now. I would pay a considerable amount of money to watch that match.
I mean, it shows, again, a guy that you had on your list, Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, he counts Dean Malenko as like his favourite.
Does he?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So that tells you everything, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's not just the technical sort of prowess of him as well. If you go back to when they left ECW, him and Eddie Guerrero, that was their last match. That was the feud, their last match in ECW. And the fans, who we know ECW fans are like visceral and like they were just like all in. They were genuinely upset and they were like begging them not to leave ECW.
Please don't go. Please don't go.
Please don't go. Exactly.
Don't go.
So, it's just, he's just so good. He had to be on my list as well. And as I say, and you mentioned it as well, the knowledge he has, the fact that he was helping people. You don't get kept on for like 20 years at WWE after you retire to be a producer.
Dog shit. Yeah.
But if you're shit. So, yeah, he had to be. So there you go. Dean Malenko.
I would give anything to have an hour with him. Just to have him stand next to the ring and say, just try this like that. Or do this like this. You know what I mean? Oh, it would just, amazing. Yep.
So my number 6, Dean Malenko. Okay, over to you, Mr. Hawks.
Just really quickly before we go to the next one. Usually we talk about like your favorite wrestlers or the best heels or the best faces, and we talk about like these big guys and these amazing people who've made all this money and they've left all this impression on wrestling and they're these personalities. We're talking about wrestlers here.
Yeah.
We're really talking about proper professional wrestlers. and I fucking love this so much. I can't explain to you guys how much I fucking love this. Conversation is wicked. It's so good. Right. And talking of professional wrestlers, I may have been a little bit cheeky here, Shields, listeners.
Okay.
I've been a bit cheeky. But you'll understand what I'm saying when I say it, okay? My number 6, this is number 6, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. My number 6, my number 6 is Tiger Mask.
He was on my wider list.
Now, Tiger Mask, there's several Tiger Masks. Masks? I don't know how to say
Mask
it.
guy.
There's several Tiger Mask guy.
I can't believe you actually said it.
It's Lexi. It's a Japanese Mercedes, mate. Literally.
Oh.
So, for me, this the first two, basically. It's Satoru Sayama and Misawa Misawa, who goes down to be one of the best wrestlers ever. But there's a reason why that 1980s, early 80s period, from 81 or whenever it was. We'll just call it 1980. I don't know the exact fucking numbers off the top of my head. From 1980 to 1980, well, probably 1990 when Kanemoto took over. Sayama and Misawa, maybe more so Sayama, they were the birth of the Cruiserweight division, and they are the birth of what we will now know, what we look back on now, through the Rob Van Dams and the Jerry Lyns, through the AJ Styleses, through the Ricochets, through every single person who's ever wrestled in AEW. Like, that is the genesis that people were saying, well, such and such done a fucking high spot fucking drop kick back in 1972 or whatever. Like, the real full-on bell-to-bell cruiserweight high spot, cruiserweight fucking light heavyweight division wrestling, and whatever you want to call it, started with Satoru Sayama and Dynamite Kid in 1981 in All Japan. Come at me, I'll fucking fight you on it. Don't give a fuck. I'll fight you. They were 40 years ahead of their time.
Yep.
They were doing stuff then. They were doing pile driver spots. They were doing pile driver fucking reversals. They were doing suplexes. They were doing technical wrestling. They were doing fucking El Tope suicidas. They were doing fucking diving headbutts. They were doing all this mad shit in 20-minute matches in the Tokyo Dome or the Budokan or whatever in 1982. You can watch a match from then, now, and it'll look like it was from Dynamite or NXT today, last year, last 5 years, whatever. That Tiger Mask, because he was the mask, it's timeless, which is amazing, which I think is really cool. Because it's like, you can take that guy, there's been like 5 of them or whatever, you can take that guy, as long as he looks the same height, the same weight or whatever, you put that mask on him, and it's almost like a supernatural thing. It's like this guy, he never ages. Like, as long as you wrestle that style and you have a similar like work rate or whatever, you could be Tiger Mask forever. Like, they didn't necessarily need to number them. You could just be Tiger Mask forever. You know what I mean? Like, which I think is cool as fuck. You need to go and watch the Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask matches from that early period. We will be talking about Dynamite Kid. I'm not going to give it away, if you know what I mean. There's a special place for Dynamite Kid, just because of this conversation that I'm having right now. Tiger Mask 1 and 2, whatever, Tiger Mask, had to get it on my list. He, whatever, maybe Sayama more than Misawa, but they were the genesis, the OG, the Patient X, whatever, for why we're talking about this conversation, why we're having this conversation now. So good. Stupidly good.
Mm-hmm.
Stupidly good. Oh, I love it. I love it. Amazing. Yeah. Yeah. Number 6.
He was on my wider list. But yeah, we'll talk about it in a wee second, but that's fine.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Yep.
So we are halfway through the list, guys. What we usually do now is we take a small break within the list and we talk about other stuff in wrestling. And we talked about WWE earlier. It's only fitting we talk about wrestling's ugly sister. We talk about AEW.
Oklahoma.
Okay.
I need a wee.
Pee. Do you agree with our list so far? Let us know, wrestlemark10@gmail.com. You can tweet us at mark_out of10. You can also follow us on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, comment all that stuff. Share the podcast with a friend, 5 stars, all that jazz, because it does help with the algorithm. We want you to share that podcast out to at least one person. Thank you. Tell you what, I'm going to go and pee as well. Motherfucker. Motherfucker.
It's like a fucking racehorse then. It's the longest piss I've ever had in my life, I think.
You've got a healthy prostate.
And recommence.
What are you talking about? That's getting included. Oh, dear. Okay, let's talk about AEW, right? Wrestling. A lot of shit's happened in AEW. Some good, some bad, some indifferent. But I think the key talking point that I want to touch upon this evening, Coxie, is the return of the one, the only Maxwell Jacob Friedman, MJF. The boy's back.
Yep.
Thoughts?
Yes, he is. Desperation, maybe?
Yeah, 100%.
They need him more than ever.
Yeah.
But what the fuck is he going to do?
Exactly. That's exactly the point I said to you the other day, right? It's like, who's he going to go up against?
Who? What's he going to do? What's he going to do? Like, he came back and done what he needed to do or whatever. Like, that's cool as shit. But, I mean, he looks good for a start. He looks very, very good. It's probably the best shape he's been in ever. Yeah. He looks amazing. But, yeah. What? Why? Who? When? I don't get it.
It's going to be Adam Cole when he eventually comes back, but obviously I think Adam Cole's
still injured. Is he ever going to come back?
I don't think he is. Adam Cole looks ill.
Fucked.
He's absolutely done. Absolutely done.
He looks like he's got something going on. I mean, we've said this before, haven't we? He looks...
He's lost all body definition. Just like...
There's something going on. He looks really, really ill. Really
does not look well at all.
As ill as I look with this fucking ring light blasting in my face at fucking 7,000 lumens or whatever it fucking is.
It's hotter than the sun. I don't know what's like. I love MJF. He's one of the best, you know, and currently
we've banged on about him for a lot. We haven't we?
He's incredible.
A lot about him. Yeah.
There's no one in there I want to see him go up against.
The Wolf of Wrestling. I'm not fucking leaving.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool,
Shit.
right?
I don't like it. I don't like it. Nope. I think it's fucking... When was Wolf of Wall Street out?
Well, yeah, it's cheesy as balls, but I don't
10 years ago, 8 years ago, whatever.
It fits him. He's just... He can say what he wants, he'll still get it over. It's... What I don't want to happen, though, is like... I think Tony Khan is getting his like claws into him a little bit. It's starting to feed through. And... Like, realistically, who is he going to go up against? It's got to be Swerve, right?
He doesn't need... Oh, God. He needs the belt. He doesn't need the belt, but he has to have the belt.
Yeah.
Because he's the best fucking thing they've got. I know people say, like, oh, you don't need the belt to get over and this, that, and the other. Like, he's the best fucking thing they've got.
Yeah.
If he wasn't injured, he would have been the fucking champ. So, like, do something about it.
They've backed themselves into a corner because he's got to go for it, right? It's a case of what they're either going to do is Swerve is either going to get like buried from him, like not from him, but from the booking, right? Swerve should be the champ, but you know they've brought MJF back with no obvious plan in sight. So it's either the champion, the current champion, Swerve Strickland, gets buried. So MJF goes over. That makes MJF has got no one to go up against, or they keep on going with Swerve and they make MJF lose on his return. It doesn't make sense. There's no way out that I can see.
Swerve Strickland's title reign has been the most underwhelming in AEW history in the 5 years they've been going.
I don't know what to do with them.
They've took they're one of the most over talents and the biggest miss I think they've ever had in AW, and they've had some big fucking misses in this promotion. This is the biggest one that they've had by a country mile. They're going to bury him either way. He's probably already buried now anyway. He's already down. You bring MJF in. Okay, like, is there somebody who can beat Swerve for the title? Is it going to be an MJF versus Ospreay? You know what I mean? Or is Ospreay going to beat Swerve in August in London? And then it's going to be Ospreay and MJF? Like, once they've got the Adam Cole thing out the way, is that the way they're going to go? I don't fucking know. What can Ospreay and MJF do? I don't know.
Ospreay MJF's not going to happen this year because Ospreay's still going to do a Daniel Bryan thing. That's going to be in.
Is that going to be the match?
I reckon so. It's got to be, right. I mean,
all in.
It sort of writes itself the way they did the Daniel Bryan injury at Dynasty, and I haven't seen the follow up like pay per view. I haven't watched it, to be fair. I haven't watched it yet. Fucking time.
Same.
It's just a mess. There's, MJF. We've talked about him so much. He's a legitimate star, but even the return of MJF doesn't entice me to watch it. You know what I mean?
Because there's nothing to sink your teeth into, is there?
If Punk was still there, that would be interesting. If Jericho wasn't a fucking reprobate, it would be interesting. There's just nothing.
I've said this before, mate. I'm at the point now where I want to see John Moxley on my television screen every week on a Dynamite.
At least he does
something. At least there's something going on. And I know it's
a piss boil.
Yeah, but then I'm reacting to it.
Yeah, exactly.
At least I'm invested in it. There is nothing going on. There's nothing happening. Nothing happening AEW. It's like Evan Courageous.
Do you know what's terrifying?
Nothing happening.
Nothing's happening in AEW, and they've got Okada. Mm-hmm. They've got Ospreay. It's terrible. It's so bad. They've got MJF.
They've got Wardlow. They've got Powerhouse Hobbs. They've got Darby Allin. They've got Edge. Sorry, Cope. They've got Christian. They've got all these people. Ricky Starks. When was Ricky Starks last on the television? I want to see Ricky Starks walk into fucking NXT. That's what I want to see.
Well, Ricky Starks is very close to Cody, and he's been like backstage and shit with him.
Get him fucking signed. Get him in there. Get him in the door.
Yeah, so
Swerve Strickland's on the show. He's their champ, and I don't give a fuck. I love him. He was on my fucking future list. High up on my future list.
Yeah.
They've shit the fucking bed with Swerve Strickland as their champ. Fucking bullshit.
It's terrifying.
I'm trying to keep myself lubricated tonight.
Yeah,
my throat is so bad. It's so bad. It's crazy, mate. Like, I should be. The first thing we should have spoke about tonight was, holy fucking shit, MJF's back. Yeah. It's going to be amazing. Oh my God. But this is the middle segment. This is not the shit segment. All of our content is amazing, obviously. But, like, dude, come on. Like, this should be headline. We talked about Jordan Grace and Ethan Page before we talked about MJF coming back. What does that say?
Tells you everything. Moving on, we are going to talk
drinking
about...
tea face. The meme.
We'll talk about a guy you just mentioned there, Adam Copeland, formerly known as Edge. He's no longer the champion. He's been stripped of it because he has broken his leg, essentially. Was it the tibia, I think he's broken? Because he did a fucking stupid spot from the top of the ring, from top of the cage. It's like, he's like 50 odd years old. I think it was a splash he was going to. It looked like a fucking double axe handle that he did, and he's broken his leg, essentially. What is he doing as well? It's like, we talk about like Jericho becoming a meme of himself. He's going exactly the same way.
Yeah. Yep. You got to think. So he was TNT champion?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Going into Forbidden Door, which is a big deal, and it would have been sort of one of the, like, what's the word? Like a marquee match, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. To wrestle on Forbidden Door, the opportunity for him as well, going into Forbidden Door, like wrestling some of the guys from Japan, Obviously, we talk about matchmaking and matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Like, it would have been ideal for him to wrestle someone from New Japan. It would have been a big thing. Obviously, he shit the bed with that now. Who, bless you, Fee? Who goes into who goes into the to the like who has it? Who has the belt? They're going to do another tournament. Guaranteed, they're going to do another tournament.
100%.
Which is just how many tournaments have we had in AW since they've been a thing? Probably about 37,000. Could we see Ricky Starks
No.
coming in and winning the championship, winning the tournament? But dude, it's shit, right?
It's terrible.
He shit the bed. Like, it's just stupid. Did he I haven't seen it. Has he proper fucked himself up, or did he like carry on?
He carried on, yeah. So I think it must be a hairline fracture to his leg.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's like it's just so fucking stupid. In fact, it says
It's just so
backstage
fucking
reaction to Adam
stupid.
Copeland's brutal leg injury. Let's see.
Is it brutal? Is it like David Bust? That kind of level of brutal.
The rated R superstar fractured his tibia during the match. Many behind the scenes are bummed out. No fucking shit.
Bummed out. Who's reporting that? Is that Meltzer?
No, who is it?
Twat.
Fernando Quiles Jr. Fuck you. Right, yeah, so he's broken his leg.
Out. Some really good reporting there, guys. Really
What
good
I want to say, though, right, is obviously he went into that match re-debuting, we can call it, as Brood Edge. Okay?
Spoiler
No one cares.
alert. If you haven't watched Double or Nothing, Gangrel is there.
Yeah. Gangrel
comes out.
So it's like he comes down as Brood, and you know, and they did this in WWE when he came back. He became Brood Edge. It doesn't do anything for me because when he was Brood Edge, he was mediocre at best.
He was shite.
Wow. Okay. But you know what I mean? It's like we're not talking about like
Edge didn't get over as Brood Edge.
no.
He got over it with Edge and Christian, and then his single stuff he got big time over. Yeah, it's the nostalgia pop. It's the nostalgia trip. The fans the 623,000 fans who watch this show every week are going to wank themselves silly over the fact that Gangrel's come out and he spat blood all over the floor. I wonder what Meltz is going to say. Like, fuck off. Get in the bin. Lot of yous. It's daft.
It's WCW vibes.
Aye.
That's exactly what it is. It's WCW vibes at the latter end of WCW.
Everyone says like, oh fucking hell, Edge has done this, and a lot of the guys who have came from the WWE, for all of WWE's flaws, they knew how to, in the most part, they knew how to make a star. They knew when to hold them, and they knew when to fold them, and they knew when to go all in, right? So the guys who maybe thought they were a bit too big for their boots are going off and doing all this mad shit now and being like, well, I can go here and I'm a big star and my name's got loads of presence. Like, you didn't necessarily make yourself that star. You maybe had a 20% input in it.
Yeah.
But the other 80% they said no to. And the 80% of the stuff was dog shit. Maybe 60% of that 80% stuff was dog shit. That's some Scott Steiner math, by the way. Like, you get told to do, where to go, what to say. You might have a bit of input and you're going to be involved in it. But you, in the most part, get told what to do, what to say, and when to say it. Okay? There's very, very few people who are in this sort of stratosphere of being able to go in there and do exactly what the fuck you want when you want to do it. And they're called Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. There's not many other people who are going to be in that level.
No.
And there's not many people who can get to that level without the backing of a machine as well. So you've got Adam Copeland, you've got Edge, who was a big deal. He was a big star. One of the best heels on my list. Really, really mad shit they did back in the day. He's gone now. Same as Jericho. Same as fucking whoever. Andrade. The same as fucking Tyler. What's his name? Tommy End. Fucking Malachi Black. Same as all these guys who've went across there and been given free reign. You fucking Mercedes Monets and all these lot. They're just dog shit. because they don't necessarily have the thought process. They're like a dog, like just running after a toy and shaking this toy about. It's like, oh, I've got this thing now. I can do loads of stuff with it. It's not necessarily the best thing, but at least you're doing something.
Cocks. That's what it is.
It's like a dog with 2 dicks. It's too much. It's too much. And Edge they're all getting in their own way. They've got the toys to the fucking the keys to the kingdom, haven't they? You know what I mean? It's too much, mate. It's too much. Edge should have come in. I'm going to call him Edge. I'm going to fucking call him Adam Copeland. Edge sort of came into that promotion. He had a big debut. He came in as a big deal. And they've done absolutely fuck all with him. He should have latched on to a lower, like, main event guy and put him over. And had a 6 months fucking feud with him and put him over as a big deal, as a big star. He doesn't need to win against somebody. He is a star. His name has credence and star power with him. He could have made a Wardlow. Mm-hmm. He could have done some amazing shit with a Darby Allin. He could have give Swerve Strickland the rub to give him a big fucking run up to the title. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And what I want to see from Edge and what I want to see for Christian right now, I want to see them have a tag team run together.
Yeah, of course you do.
And that's what they should be doing. They should be going in and they should be having a feud against an FTR. They should be having a feud against the Young Bucks. People would care about an ENC run against the Young Bucks. Maybe not gangbusters, but people wouldn't be turning it off. If they'd done it right, if they had a 2016 Young Bucks against an Edge and Christian now, even Edge and Christian as a heel, I think it would work and people wouldn't turn off. They would still watch. They might not all come back, but they wouldn't be losing the 100,000 people that they lose every time the Young Bucks are on the television. That's how you book it. That's how you do it, right? That's how you
people
do it.
Watched when it was the Young Bucks versus Matt and Jeff, right? I mean, but when they went over to AEW,
it's not
itself.
It wouldn't be. Yeah. This doesn't make. I'm not a fucking genius to fucking work that out. You do stuff what people want to watch.
Give the people what they want.
Give the people what they want. Exactly.
Indeed.
I'll shut up now.
No, you're absolutely right. I brought it up. I mean, that's fine. Couple more things we've got to talk about AEW. Obviously, we're in the negotiation stage between AEW and Warner Brothers. And apparently, it has been reported that Mr. Tony Khan is not happy with the offer he received from the network, Hoxie. You heard stuff about this, yeah?
So, apparently, I saw this online on the Twitterverse, on X, whatever you want to call it. So you can take this however you want, but the source that it came from, I think it was Sean Ross Sapp or whatever, or one of the big. I don't follow any bullshit on the internet. They want $125 million deal is what AEW are holding out for in terms of the TV rights for Warner Brothers. So it's TNT and TBS.
Yes, yeah.
Yep. Apparently, allegedly, rumor has it that the initial offer was $70 million. So that is $55 million off.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
It's a big chunk of change.
I want 1% of that, please.
Yes, please.
I want 0.1% of that, please. Right now. I'll take it. I'm happy with that. I'm not going to be disappointed with that at all. I just think it's once again, TK is having great talks with Warner Brothers.
It's all great.
Everything's great. It's all great. We've sat here for the last half an hour talking about AW, but everything is great. I don't know why we're talking about it all the time. It's crazy. We're having great talks. There's an exclusivity period, and I'm very blessed to be having great talks with them. Twat. It's ridiculous. They ain't very long. It's 6 months,
mm-hmm.
I think.
Yep.
It's quite funny how This has just come to me. Just as a random thought, just popped straight into my head. WWE going to a Netflix at the end of the year. Do we have an ESPN or whatever trying to get involved with an AEW so they've got a wrestling product on their TV show because everyone's fucked off to Netflix?
Potentially.
I'm not saying it's going to happen. It just popped into my my head.
Yeah, it would be interesting. There's a couple of things I don't understand. Where does he get that number from? Like, because
it's so they can make a profit, or any
form of profit,
any close to covering a wage bill or a production bill or whatever.
The thing is, he's not a stupid man, right? He's not. He can be, to be in, the positions he's been in before. Obviously, he's got daddy's money, but that's by the by. But how can he honestly justify $125 million for TV rights when they barely scrape 700,000 viewers per show? How? I don't know where the disconnect is. It's like
people consume content in different ways in 2024. Shields. That's why.
Yeah,
people don't watch television anymore. People don't watch live TV.
They
do. Because 2.2 million people are watching Raw and fucking SmackDown every week.
But
so Meltzer, so we use Meltzer, we shit on Meltzer, but he is the closest thing we've got to any form of like plug into it because they all fucking speak to him. They're all his bestie mate.
Oh yeah.
So Meltzer has said, I'm going to quote this verbatim. I was told that he wasn't disappointed at all, but at the same time, what does disappointed mean? It's just a word. I mean, in the sense of you can say he hasn't signed, so it's not the offer he wanted. And you can say, well, that's disappointing. I mean, you can say that, but this is so hard to read. I mean, you can say that, but the numbers, Mason, the numbers that I hear would not be numbers that I would call disappointing. So, but I mean, as far as what happens, it's kind of one of those things where until the deal was done, I don't read too much into it because anything can happen. I mean, people can change their minds on both sides, and an offer can be made and an offer can be rescinded. That's happened many, many times before. Nothing is signed. That's that. The exclusivity period is coming up soon, so they could open it up to talk to other people and see what's going on there. As far as it's going badly, right now, I would not call it badly. That would not be the term I would use at all. People who kind of know are somewhat excited about it, but at the end of the day, when the deal is announced, that'll be the story. So I've spent 35, 40 seconds of my life I would never got back talking an absolute load of pish, as you would say. Pish. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Basically, that's the long and short of nothing's been done. There's nothing on one side. There's nothing on the other side. It can change tomorrow. It can be good. It can be bad, whatever. So it's just one of those things. We've got to wait and see. But I heard 70 million was the offer, and they want 125 million to be able to get remotely close to making a profit or covering costs. So it's interesting.
So this is the competition to WWE, right? £70 million for TV rights. Mm-hmm. Netflix have signed a $5 billion deal over 10 years.
And we're arguing over 55 million quid. It's not even
close.
It's not the same thing. I've said this before. AEW are not, they are a new thing.
Yeah.
AEW or whatever AEW are, WWE now are bigger than wrestling. They are a professional wrestling company now. They've gone back to being a professional wrestling company, but they are so much more than just being wrestling. AEW or whatever AEW are, they are this new take, this new form of entertainment using wrestling as a media, basically a medium. That's what AEW are now, and WWE are in a completely two different boxes, two different worlds. It's not even close. Yeah, it's interesting, man.
I think this is going to be interesting because it's obviously if these talks don't continue or they keep on continuing in this manner, we're going to see more and more people leave AEW. I think that's absolute guarantee. I mean, Arn Anderson's already said he's not renewing. Mark Henry's not renewing a contract. Jack Swagger, I say talent. Jack Swagger, the wrestler, hasn't renewed his contract.
Oof.
You know what I mean? It's
Some
like
stray bullets there, mate. Definitely.
but yeah, so I mean, I reckon this is just the very start of it. I think we'll see major cuts. I mean, obviously, he already did the first round in terms of Ring of Honor, like getting rid of certain personnel from Ring of Honor. I reckon we'll see some. There needs to be some hard and heavy cuts in AEW as well, because it's such a bloated roster of just absolute mediocrity. It just has to happen. So.
Yeah, they've got too many people on the books. We've had this chat before, haven't we? We would get rid of a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, the Warner Brothers executives were at Dynamite last night, which is interesting. I'll be interested to see how often something like that happens
now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
What was the rating for that Dynamite?
Dude, I love talking about this sort of stuff. I love shooting the shit about this sort of stuff. To me, the business of the wrestling business is just as interesting as the actual wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love all this sort of stuff. It fascinates me. It fascinates me. I'd love if more of this was more like public knowledge, because it's business. I would love if this was more public knowledge. Yeah, I love it. Really,
Dynamite
really interesting.
Did 787,000.
Take away the first and last quarters, and we'll get the true fucking reading.
Got the actual
It's
number,
probably 720, 700, somewhere around there.
So
if they had a good lead in from the Big Bang, then they're doing well.
They did a 0.25
in the
18 to 49.
1849.
But then, obviously, NXT, significantly smaller budget, etc., they did 703,000. So there's only, 84,000 less.
To quote Triple H, well done. You beat our developmental territory.
Yep. Raw was 1.69 million. They did a 0.55, 18 to 49.
Mm-hmm. It's a Monday night. Yeah.
So I'm just going to go through them, right? Collision did 415,000. 0.15. Rampage.
250?
222,000. A 0.08.
Fucking hell. Get rid of it.
SmackDown.
I've said this before. Sorry, just really quickly. Rampage needs to be the women's show. Get the women on Rampage. Get them working. Get them grafting. And I guarantee a full women's wrestling show would do more than 220,000 people. Sorry. Go on.
No.
Yep.
SmackDown did 2.147 million. A
0.56. I guarantee Cody Rhodes' segment was the highest segment of that show.
Probably. What happened with that Rampage, though? Because the week before, it was 392,000.
It was wasn't it after Collision or after Dynamite or something they'd done that?
That's a fucking drop, though. Jesus Christ.
Probably Jericho was on it. The Young Bucks.
That's our AEW segment.
Yep. Do better.
Can do fucking worse.
Do better, anyway, you'll be okay. You'll be fine.
You're right, hun. All right,
DM me, hun. You okay?
Someone get Tony a gin.
TK, DM me.
Sling him with DMs. Okay, follow us and mark out of 10 on Instagram, Talk to Tony. We'll set you alright, it's fine. They're definitely getting blocked from AEW. Honestly,
I'm sure I'm blocked by Meltzer. I know I'm blocked by Meltzer because I questioned him on a World of Sport thing when he started to tell me about the viewing figures of Big Daddy versus Giant Haystacks, and then I came back to him with the actual factual viewing figures, and he blocked me. Big Daddy versus Giant Haystacks was one of the most watched television shows in the history of British television.
Yep.
And he tried to tell me that it was just a dog shit thing and all these other shows in America were doing all this money. So I came back. I think there was something daft, like 9 million people watched Giant Haystacks versus
something
Big
crazy.
Daddy. Cunt. Sorry.
Moving on, let's go back to our cruiserweights and light heavyweights and junior heavyweights and just the wee guys in wrestling. All right, let's get
I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. I'm hot tonight. Okay. I'm fucking hot tonight, Shields. I'm on it. Let's go.
I like it. I love it. Okay, so we're on to the second half of our list. Hoxie, it's your number 5.
My number 5 is Eddie Guerrero. We've spoke about Eddie Guerrero before, so I don't really want to sort of like bang the drum too much, if you know what I mean. But come on, guys. Like, if you're listening to the podcast, you know exactly what Eddie Guerrero is all about.
Yeah.
Probably one of the biggest overachievers in wrestling.
Yep.
He started off completely, without a shadow of a doubt, in that cruiserweight category.
Yep.
Cruiserweight champion numerous times in WCW. I just googled him really quickly. He was a cruiserweight champion twice. He was the heavyweight championship, heavyweight title holder once, Battle Bowl champion once, and he won the World Cup of Wrestling with Savage, Luger, Johnny B. Bad, Sting, Chris Benoit, and Alex Wright, which is hilarious because Alex Wright is German. So he wouldn't have, looking at the other names on that, he would have been, well, Chris Benoit's Canadian as well. How WCW is that, by the way? That's amazing. Anyway, just a big, obviously Guerrero family, blah de blah de blah. We've had Guerrero conversations before. One of the greatest to ever do it. One of the biggest overachievers in wrestling. Transition from being the cruiserweight, that lucha libre style of wrestler, that lucha style of wrestler, to becoming one of the biggest names in wrestling history. Transcended wrestling to become almost like a bit of a cultural thing as well. Obviously, dude, he was around when he was like a teenager, right?
Yeah.
He was wrestling in the 80s because he was only 38 when he died. He was really young when he died anyway. So, but back in the day, he had a match with Terry Funk. Did you ever see that match in WCW?
No.
He had a match with Terry Funk, which Terry Funk, fuck me, with Terry Funk, which is really, really good fun. Obviously, AAA, New Japan was talking about Tiger Mask. He was Black Tiger in the tournament, in the cruiserweight tournament. But oh my god, dude, what's the cruiserweight tournament in New Japan?
Oh my god, I'm gonna kill myself.
Super Juniors, Best of Super Juniors, the Best of Super Juniors Cup. Chris Benoit and Black Tiger, Eddie Guerrero have a match in the Super Juniors Cup in like 1995 or something, 1996. Fuck me. Oh my god. Some of the hardest rings in the world, and they're doing all these mental fucking heights. It was like bumping on concrete, but it was amazing. Obviously WCW, WCW, WWF, and the fucking rest is history. Guerrero's class. End of. Number 5. Phenomenal.
Fair enough.
The reason he's not higher on my list is because he wasn't solely a cruiserweight.
Yeah.
He was like half and half, or 70-30 or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's got to be on there. Got to be on there.
Sounds
Phenomenal.
good.
Love him.
My number 5 is Mr. Thomas Billington, the Dynamite Kid.
Okay.
He was a cunt outside of the ring. Let's call a spade, right? He obviously had well-documented issues in terms of substance abuse. He was a bit of a bully. He was well-known, but in the ring, just there was like no one else like him, right? It's just, he was explosive. He was so strong. He had an intensity. It's like and for such a small man. So again, this is probably one of my only like smaller guys as opposed to a cruiserweight. Because I think he was just above the 200 and whatever pounds that WCW would have had him as.
It probably depends.
I think
if it was 1980, he was probably 160 pounds. If it was 1982, he was probably 230 because and most of that was rattling around in inside. Allegedly,
he was stacked though. He was a big guy, you know, in terms of like smaller stature, but he was ripped. He was fucking strong.
He's like a Neville.
Yeah. That's
Pac.
a good shout. Yeah,
you look at Pac now. You put Pac with some form of AJ Styles and Randy Orton help, and you get Dynamite Kid.
Yeah,
Maybe.
Allegedly.
allegedly. But yeah, you've already mentioned the matches he's had with Tiger Mask. It's like they still stand the test of time, right? You could go and watch them today, and like as you say, it'd be sort of something you would potentially see in like an AEW. That's what AEW would want to put on. Just so good, and then obviously tag teamed with Davey Boy as well. But yeah, he's so good. He had to be in any list for a cruiserweight as well, like, or a smaller wrestler, just because he was so good, and he influenced so many other superstars as well. It's like Benoit, sort of. I mean, that's a great example. But Chris Benoit, like, it sort of mirrored him a little bit to the latter end. And yeah, so Dynamite Kid for me. Yeah, exactly.
We will talk about Dynamite Kid at some point
Okay.
with mine as well. So we'll sort of leave that till then.
No
but I'm happy he's on your list. I'm really happy he's on your list. Yeah, that's cool. Cool.
My next one is guy you just mentioned, Eddie Guerrero. He's my number 4. Basically for all the reasons you said, mate. He's just different class, right? It's
as you would say, different gravy.
Different gravy, indeed. I mean, the only thing I'm going to say is we talked about it. I talked about it on WCW matches, best WCW matches. Him and Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio in the purple Halloween Havoc. Just
the Phantom gimmick thing. Yeah,
that's it. That's all. That's all I'm going to say. Just fucking Eddie Guerrero. That's it. I'll start crying otherwise.
It's too much, man. Too much.
Okay, moving on. You're number 4.
My number 4. When I thought of, I'm just going to get the thing up because what I want to do is I want to take a picture of a picture so I can send it to you so you can see what picture that I'm talking about. I probably should have sent this to you earlier on, but I'll send it to you anyway. Fuck's sake. Fucking Google. Get in the fucking bin. Just give me the fucking picture. Open link. No. I want to open up the image. There we go. Oh, fucking hell. It's a terrible picture, but fuck it. I'm going to send it to you on WhatsApp so you can see. This is live, guys. This is unedited. This is some good shit. We might post this on our socials as well. Where are you? There you are. The first thing that pops into my head when I think of cruiserweights and greatest cruiserweights is this picture.
Yeah, okay.
You see that?
Yep.
So this is Ultimo Dragon. He is quite possibly one of... So this list is like greatest, and obviously it falls into sort of favorites as well. Yeah. We're really getting into this nut cutting sort of time now. You cannot argue to me that this guy can't be on this list. He's a Japanese guy that sort of started training in Japan, but then he went to Mexico and sort of trained that lucha style. So he's got this mental fucking like foundational wrestling ability of a dojo trained like Japanese wrestler, pro wrestler, with this mental mix of lucha libre thrown into the mix. I think if you took a poll of every cruiserweight or smaller guy wrestler ever and said who was your inspiration or who is up there with your inspiration of wrestlers, Ultimo Dragon is probably going to be in the top 5, maybe even the top 3 of those wrestlers. He was everywhere. He'd done everything. The picture that I'm talking about is a picture of him, and he's got like 10 belts on him. He stood there with his arms out. I'll try and show you guys on the camera if you watch on YouTube. He's like stood there with his arms out like this. He's got like belts around his neck. He's got belts on his arms. He's got belts around his waist. Like he's literally dripping with gold. This guy, God, I love gold. He's one of probably the most decorated wrestlers ever. And he's one of the greatest to ever do it. He was signed to the WWE in 2000.
Yeah, it was around that time.
somewhere around there.
Yeah.
The Ruthless Aggression era,
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
call it. And he wasn't brought in as like this. He should have been a massive deal. He should have been a huge. If it was now, it would be like what you mean. Like we talk about like independent wrestlers or guys who have made their name elsewhere in like the wrestling or whatever. Like he would have been brought in with pyro and at a fucking Royal Rumble or a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam, where he would have been brought in like a massive, massive, massive deal. Bless me. I'm gonna go again. Bless me. Holy shit. He would have been brought in at this it's a huge, huge fanfare, but he wasn't, because it was that time, because he was labelled as a cruiserweight guy. Fast forward 20 years, this would have been one of the biggest stories in wrestling. It would have been a massive thing.
Yeah, huge.
He's one of the most legendary high flyer / cruiserweight / light heavyweight wrestlers of all time, ever. But he's just a huge deal, and the amount of people who he's been involved in and involved with in terms of making their careers or sort of as an influence for them, it's a huge deal. Ultimo Dragon is fucking amazing, amazing, and he was so good. He was so good. The stuff he'd done in Japan, the stuff he'd done in Mexico, the stuff he'd done over here with WCW and WWE, just top shit. Amazing. Love Ultimo Dragon. And he like some of the coolest like gear, wrestling gear ever. Like the fucking like that top half like shoulder pad
crazy,
thing going on with like the just it's so sick. So sick. And he just won titles everywhere he went because he was a big deal, because he was top shit. Class. Love him. Love him.
He was on my wider list. I took him off. Now, he was going to be my number 3, right? But
okay. Very close.
The reason I changed it is because I preferred watching the guy I've got for my number 3. Just it's just a favourite,
as a personal preference thing. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so
before I go into my 3, over to your number 3, Hoxie.
This was hard for me. This was really hard for me. So my number 3, I'm really close to fucking switching it right now. I'm not going to do it. My number 3 is Jushin Thunder Liger. He wrestled for like nearly 40 years or whatever. He was around for a long time. He had his retirement match at a Wrestle Kingdom show a couple of years ago. Like, it might have been even just before COVID, maybe.
So, yeah.
It's hard to sum up. I could probably like if I spent a bit of time and just sort of laid it all out, we could do another show on Jushin Thunder Liger. We could talk about this guy's career forever. He's almost sort of legendary levels with Ultimo Dragon.
Yep.
He was everywhere. He has done everything with everybody that has ever been, basically. Yeah, and he transcended wrestling as well. He had comic books about him. He had cartoons in Japan about him. I spoke earlier on about Tiger Mask potentially being one of those things who could live forever. They could have because of obviously the way Jushin, if you look at him, he looks like a fucking Power Ranger. It's mental. But if they could have gave his gimmick to somebody else, and he fucking might have done. You never know. You know what I mean? It's like it's crazy. Like he could be timeless. He almost is timeless anyway, because of like looking at what he did back in the day. All those you talk about not you, but like they're all you talk about like tape trading and stuff back in the 90s and shit like that. That Super J Cup in the 90s, he would have been the guy that you would have wanted to watch. He wrestled everybody. He got everybody over. Like, he's been everywhere. He was in WWE for a bit, like doing drops in and out. WCW, New Japan.
He only had one match in WWE.
Who was his match against WWE?
Tyler Breeze. It was only in 2015.
He's done some stuff before that, right?
No, apparently not. Because he's on my list later. So
Okay.
yeah,
Wow, I thought he'd done some stuff like back in the day.
apparently not. I mean, I'll
Wow.
double check my research.
No, it's
but yeah,
that's fine. He's everywhere, mate. TNA,
yeah.
Ring of Honor,
Done everything.
WCW, WWE, AAA, CMLL, all the indies, New Japan, All Japan. Like I see, he's got fucking dude. You don't get a fucking cartoon about you or a comic book about you
Exactly. Yeah.
if you ain't fucking over his shit. You know what I mean? Like he's just yeah, he's everywhere, everywhere, and influential. OG. He sort of came into it just after that Tiger Mask Dynamite Kid thing, where
Yep.
it was probably an open book for the smaller guys to be like, "Do you know what? I can go on a show as a Japanese wrestler who isn't 6'4" and 260 pounds, who's going to be wrestling like
Bruiser Brody.
Bruiser Brody or fucking Stan Hansen or it like Misawa like later on. I can go on a show and I can have matches with these guys. Some of the matches he had with Pillman in the early in the 90s with WCW
Mhm.
on those pay-per-views, put Pillman on the map, got Pillman over.
Yeah.
If there wasn't a Jushin Thunder Liger, there wouldn't have been a Pillman where he was. Don't fucking at me. Suck my dick.
Yeah, no,
Carry
you
on. Just amazing talent. Oh, dude, just come on, man. Jushin Thunder Liger, like it goes hand in hand, right? Literally,
Yep.
cruiserweight, Jushin Thunder Liger go hand in hand. Very simple. Number 3, easy.
Interesting. Yeah, like I say, we'll talk about him very shortly. Okay. Moving on to my number 3. Now, this is just a personal favourite.
I've just seen something. Sorry, just to cut you off. I don't know if you're going to speak about this later on. He had the first ever match on WCW Nitro.
Oh, I didn't know that. No. Well, there you go.
Apparently,
There
according
you
to the
fucking go.
interwebs.
Interesting. Okay, my number 3 is probably too high, but he was one of the sort of reasons to keep on watching WCW near the end of it, and it was Billy Kidman. I was a massive Billy Kidman fan when I was obviously younger. I was like, he sort of, he had everything that you wanted in like a high flying wrestler, right? He had the look. It was the sort of basic ring gear. There was nothing too spectacular. It was like the jean shorts and the fucking like the white vest top and just the long fucking hair. Just it worked.
It's that grunge period, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just cool. It just everything he did looked so effortless. And again, he was in the worst place possible in terms of WCW. Like they just didn't know what to do with that cruiserweight division, right? And then
He beat Hulk Hogan, though, mate.
I was going to say that. Yeah, you know the reason you've got to give him some sort of kudos because he got pushed to like having a feud. It wasn't just one match; it was a feud with Hulk Hogan. You know, like the fucking cash cow of WCW. So he had to be doing something right.
Hogan was in his Jericho years there, mate.
That's
Sticking
true,
his fangs in.
So obviously WWE bought over WCW, and the unusual thing was he actually had he still kept his momentum going from that. It was like a good couple of years where he looked like he was going to be a huge star there, and I think he had 7 cruiserweight title reigns, so it was like 3 in WCW and 4 in WWF, something like that. So he actually had more cruiserweight title reigns in WWE, WWF at that time. The shooting star press is like one of the coolest moves ever, right? It's like, yeah, I'll always remember the one he did in, I think it was SmackDown he did it, and he was up against Paul London, and Paul London was actually strapped to like a backboard. He was getting stretchered out, and the referees and stuff were all around Paul London, and he went to the top rope and did a shooting star press, and all the referees scarpered. It was a fucking cool spot. We always remember that one. It's so cool.
Sick. So sick.
He actually retired really young when you think about it. Like, he just suddenly stopped.
Yeah.
And like, was it that high risk style? Probably, but he was employed as like a producer for a long, long time as well. And I think he was released 2015, I think it was, during like the budget cuts around that time. But yeah, I was a big fan of Billy Kidman. He was cool.
Billy Kidman's greatest achievement, everything that he got in his career and his life, every single thing that he did from the moment he took his first breath to right now, his greatest achievement was marrying Tori Wilson.
Yep. I agree.
Because he weren't very rich. There was people who had more money than him. So he must be the greatest salesman in the history of mankind. Or his dick is fucking massive. So yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Kidman was going to be on my list, but a little bit of me thought, it's a bit too easy.
Yeah.
And
it's
like low-hanging fruit.
yes.
Is what I maybe class it as, but I loved him. But I loved him for the shooting star press. I wasn't like a big fan of him. I was just like, I love that move. But the what was it? Was it the stuff he was Raven? What was their team called? Their stable called? Fucking hell! There's too many concussions, guys. Don't wrestle. Don't ever wrestle. Don't do it. If you're thinking about doing it, don't go and just fucking talk about it. Watch it. Don't wrestle because you get concussions and you end up forgetting stuff. What are they called?
Was it the Raven's Flock?
The Flock. Yeah.
Yeah.
That introduction as the grungy characters with Saturn and him and Raven. That was cool. It was cool as fuck. Yeah. Great shout, mate. Great shout for Billy Kidman.
Do you know something? I don't know. You say it's low-hanging fruit. I think for the hardcore wrestling fans, yeah, it would be. But I think for your casual wrestling fans, I don't know if they would remember Billy Kidman.
Maybe not. Of a certain age.
Maybe.
Of a certain age, they probably wouldn't. But
let us know. Let us know in emails and TikToks and Twitters and all that jazz.
What's your name? Where are you from? How old are you? Tell us if you know Billy Kidman.
My number 2 is Jushin Thunder Liger as well. The man that innovated the shooting star press. He was the one that debuted it in 1987. Don't you know?
Was he?
Yes.
Wow.
So there you go. He was actually innovated by
That's
him.
a great fact. Love that. The guy who made the first ever shooting star press. The first guy who
the
done it.
move was actually innovated by Jushin Thunder Liger.
Wow.
Introduced in 1987. So there you go. Fucking cool. It's one of the greatest moves ever.
Oh.
I mean, yeah, I can't really speak.
Anyone who does one now, you mark out, don't you?
Oh, it's like, yeah, because it was banned for a long time. In WWE anyway, it was banned.
Evan Bourne brought it back, didn't he?
Yeah, it was him, yeah.
Matt Sydal.
So yeah, like you talked about the Super J Cup, you know, if you think about his different like accolades he had 11 runs with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, 6 with the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team title, the J Crown. He never won the heavyweight title, but he didn't need it. You know, it's he was all, like you say, the Super Brawl 2 against Brian Pillman. Sort of made his name over here as well. There was co-promoted shows in Japan and WWE, so maybe that's what you're thinking of. But actually, in America, he only wrestled once in WWE against Tyler
like
Breeze.
On TV sort of thing.
Yeah, and that was an NXT takeover in Brooklyn. It was the first NXT takeover. He wrestled him.
I definitely would have watched that, but I can't remember that. I might need to go back and watch that.
Yeah, he
like
used
I can
the Liger
kind
bomb
of
finisher. There you go.
It's too. I'll repeat. Too many concussions, guys. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy.
And it's like you say, it's like you've got the Brian Pillman match, but you think of the matches he's had with like Rey Mysterio, Benoit, Dean Malenko, just
everybody.
It's the who's who, right?
Yes,
as you said before, and obviously he was inducted into the Hall of Fame, WWE Hall of Fame in 2020 as well. So the guy's just a legend. He had to be on the list. So yeah, number 2.
We're very close there as well.
Yeah.
2 and 3, very close.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, Oxy, you're number 2.
You've already spoke about this. You've already spoke about this guy, and he was way down, way down, all the way down.
Jericho.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think he'd be your number 2. I knew he'd be on your list, but I just didn't know where.
I think he was the guy who made cruiserweight wrestling like probably the best it's ever been.
Ooh, okay.
You've had a drink. You're thinking, look at that. He's wetting his whistle, ready for a riposte.
No.
I will allow you a volley, sir.
No.
Volley me back. Come on.
No. I agree.
It's a discussion, mate. I'm easy, mate. Go on.
Look, do your shtick, and then,
we'll
talk.
Come at me, bro.
Do your shtick, and then we'll talk about it.
All joking aside, like he's the first cruiserweight guy who was put in that box, who immediately, as soon as he even had a sniff of being put in that box, decided he wanted to break out of it and try and cross over into something else. And it wasn't when he went to WWE or WWF. It was when he was still in WCW, when he was trying to have feuds with Goldberg, when he was trying to get himself involved in more than working with a Psychosis or a Malenko or a Mysterio or whatever. Like, every single thing that he did was bigger than the Cruiserweight division. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The point I'm making, does that make sense?
Yeah, I get the point you're making.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, he... I need a thesaurus, but the only way that I can explain this, he transcended cruiserweight wrestling by being more than that. He still wrestled. He was a still smaller guy. He still wrestled maybe in that sort of style or whatever. But his persona, his charisma, his creativity, whatever you want to call it, transcended that level of that box. Being the cruiserweight champion to him wasn't, you need to be 200 pounds, you need to wrestle all the smaller guys and do all the high spots. It was like, okay, well, I can take this, I can use this as a platform to be me, to be Jericho, to be Y2J, to be the dickhead, or to be the good guy. Like, he made a name so much for himself that he got squashed by the WCW hierarchy to the point where he didn't get involved in anything, because they knew he transcended it. They knew he was a bigger deal than what he was, what they wanted him to be. And he got signed by the WWF and became Chris Jericho as we know him today. Like, he was signed in 1999 to one of the best debuts ever. Mm-hmm. Don't at me. We'll have this conversation at some point. Yeah. I know it didn't necessarily go as well as he wanted it to, but he's been down and out on this for nearly 25 years. He was the first undisputed champion. He beat Stone Cold and The Rock in the same night. Two of the biggest names ever. Probably top 5 biggest names of all time in wrestling.
100%.
He beat them on the same night to become the champion. He had main event. He has all these WWE championships. He's got all these big gold belt championships. He's the greatest IC champion of all time, or whatever. All this bullshit. Like, he even now, he's not 200. He's not over 220 pounds now. He never was. He's 5'8" at best.
I don't know. Have you seen the size of him?
Well, not wrestling weight. Maybe dad bod weight. Maybe my weight. But, like, you know what I mean? Like, he is the. I said about Guerrero being the biggest overachiever. He's the biggest achiever at doing what he did. And he's always been a cruiserweight, but he's transcended everything that's ever been put in his way. And he is in conversation. He's in GOAT conversation in wrestling.
Yep.
Full stop. But he is a cruiserweight guy. So he has to be in the. Does this make sense? What I'm trying to say? Like, I don't even know if I'm saying it right. I know what I want to say in my brain, but it's not necessarily. This is really good for a podcast, isn't it? Isn't necessarily.
I know what I want to
my
say.
Mouth. I know in my head I'm Shakespeare, but in my mouth I'm fucking whoever.
I understand what you're saying, but
retort, mate. Come on, come at me.
I know what I want to say in my brain. I'm going to use the AEW audience argument, right?
Okay. Please don't do that.
What you've said there is, like, Jericho is, like, he transcends the cruiserweight. He's always been a cruiserweight, and he'll do that. I think that's for the hardcore mark audience that know he's a cruiserweight, or he was a cruiserweight. If we're talking general, like, wrestling fans, right? If you say Chris Jericho, they're never going to refer to him as a cruiserweight. This is why he was so low down on my list, because you don't think of Jericho as a cruiserweight. Like, do you honestly, if you were watching a Jericho match just now, I say just now, like before he went to AEW, would you still refer to him as a cruiserweight? You know what I'm trying to say? It's like,
yes, I can see what you're saying, but for me, it's like,
this is interesting. This is really interesting.
So it's where he It's where he started, where he was pinpointed, because he was 5'8" and 190 pounds or whatever. You are going to fit Mr. Christopher Irvine, Mr. Chris Jericho, whether you were in Smokey Right, he was Jacob.
Yep.
In New Japan, whatever. When he went to AAA or CMLL, he was always the smaller lucha guy.
Mm-hmm.
In his brain and what he knew he could do, he was never ever in that box. So okay, well, I might float around in here for a little bit, but in my brain and what I give and what I can do for you as a company, wherever I go, I am not that. I will be the best of every single thing that you do. Wherever you put me, whether it's the ECW guys as Lionheart, same in AAA and CMLL, whether it's going to New Japan in the Super Juniors, whether it's Cruiserweights in WCW, whether it's going to WWF, like I am the best. I'm more than that. I'm the best of that. I'm always going to be better than that. You might think that I'm this, but I'm going to prove you wrong, and B, I'm going to be fucking amazing doing it. So like it made him more than that.
If this was a conversation about top 10 sort of professional wrestlers or top 10 wrestlers or top 10 greatest of all time, I would not disagree with you. But this is about top 10 cruiserweights. I think your justification, it's your justification, and that's everything to you.
To be pigeonholed as a cruiserweight,
yeah,
and be in the GOAT conversation ever, you have to be high up on the greatest cruiserweight lists of all time, because you are more than that. You've made yourself a bigger deal. You've took the cruiserweight level and you've just went and you're up there in GOAT conversation.
But he was pigeonholed as a cruiserweight, but he wasn't a star because they didn't see anything in him in WCW.
But he
That's
made
why
himself.
He went to WWE.
He made himself a star
in WWE, not in WCW.
But he could have made himself a star in WCW if it weren't the boys' handshake.
Right? Okay, yeah, fair enough. Depending on who was booking it at the time, but
if somebody could have saw the stuff he had with Goldberg was over as shit.
Mm-hmm.
The only people it wasn't over with was Goldberg and Bischoff.
Shock.
That's the only people it wasn't over with. If that was a Vince or a Bill Watts or a Vern Gagne or a whoever, the only thing that I worry about, I want to make money in wrestling as a promoter who their business relied on making money with shit that was over. We would have saw Jericho versus Goldberg at a Halloween Havoc in 1998. We would have saw that match. I'm just using that as an example.
No, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
He was on my list, right? We're just chewing the cud, I suppose.
Chewing the cud. We're having a conversation. This is the thing that I like when we get into these lists. We haven't done this for a while. We had a proper, good conversation about a decision. If you know what I mean. I don't disagree with what you're saying.
No,
I don't think you disagree with what I'm saying. I think it's two different opinions, and this is what opinions mean everything and nothing at the same time. This is the good thing about what we do in this podcast. I'm not saying it because I'm a Jericho mark. We had this conversation before. He's become a meme of himself.
Yeah.
He's fucked it up big time. He was my favorite ever. I'm not putting on this because oh my God, I fucking love Chris Jericho. Like, to be where you were, to get where you are, and to do everything that you ever did, ever, Malenko, fucking Mysterio, Benoit, the stuff he did in the ECW with all of those guys, like CMLL, Smoky Mountain, like every single where he went, he was the best of the lot of them, all the time, and he transcended to be the best of one of the best of all time.
Yeah, interesting. Really interesting. Yeah, like I say, he's on my list. Absolutely, I totally agree with you. I think, like, we're wrestling fans, right? We know where he started from and like what he did. It's interesting that he was so high up. That's the only reason I'm having that discussion with you. Be interesting to see what the comments say when this gets released.
Get involved.
Interesting.
Let us know your thoughts. If you agree or disagree, if you want to call me a fucking wanker, do whatever you want. Doesn't bother
fucking
me.
Wanker. Right, okay, Foxy. So, Chris Jericho is Hoxie's number 2. Interesting. What we do now, chat. Now, what we do now, listeners, is we have.
Hello,
what's called-
streamer. Who are you?
I know. Yeah, fucking hell. Got to stop that shit. What we do now is we do what's called our honourable mention. It's when we have a list and we want an extra pick, basically. It's when we couldn't decide to get them in the top 10. So that's why we have our honourable mention. We sometimes have just a standard honourable mention. Sometimes there's a cheeky moment, which means it's a bit left field. Mr. Hawks, it is your...
I love the fact that we've kept cheeky moment, by the way.
That was from
like the
episode
original
1, right?
Literally from episode 1. I think that's class. I love that.
So good.
Love that. Anyway, yeah. Sorry,
Okay,
go on.
Hawksy, your honourable mention for this week.
Is a guy we spoke about before. What I wanted to do was be really naughty and link one of my choices with this person together and have like a joint. It's a joint number. It was going to be a joint number 6, but that's really cheating. So my honourable mention is Dynamite Kid.
Okay.
So Dynamite Kid and Tiger Mask go hand in hand for me for this list. You've spoke about Dynamite Kid before. I spoke about Tiger Mask with Sayama and Misawa. I can't really add much to what I was saying. It's duplicating what you've said, but also just flipping across the Tiger Mask stuff for me. I know we mentioned earlier on about the Psychosis and Mysterio stuff. Please go and watch that.
Mm-hmm.
Please go and watch that shit. But a massive, massive shout out to Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington. There's somebody who I sort of have had conversations with before about a few different things back in the day, who I met on an indie show when I was doing some stuff years ago. Bronwyn Billington, who's Tom's daughter, who lives in Canada now. She's a valet. Really, really good valet. She will love this as a shout out for Dynamite Kid. I just think he's underappreciated in the world of wrestling now. You go back and look at his sort of back catalogue and look at actually what he did in the big promotions and stuff. It was just heartbreaking what happened to him with his back injury.
Yeah.
It's one of those conversations of like what could have been as well. Like he was as good as he was with what we had him for, but what could have happened after that back injury? Where could he have been? What could we have seen? He only retired in 1996, properly, fully retired in 1996. And he was very young when he did, quite young. He would have been in that mix of just amazing, amazing workers. Everybody else on this list who we've spoken about, pretty much, he would have had matches with in that early 90s, mid-90s period onwards. Just thinking about some of the stuff that he could have done. Dude, fuck. It's brutal. He was very famous for his ribs, maybe a bit too stiff, a bit too snug, whatever you want to say. He was very famous for that, but we missed out on a lot of amazing stuff that we would be talking about in 2024. That would have been some of the best shit we would have seen if he was still going. I've got no doubt in that. So massive, massive shout out for Dynamite Kid on that. Just a shame, heartbreaking, brutal, really, really brutal.
Not good.
Yeah.
It was a great shout. Dynamite obviously is on my list, so absolutely. Okay, my honourable mention. And is this a cheeky moment? Is this a bit left field potentially?
Oh!
It could prevent. No, I don't know. I don't think it is. It could.
Sit back
It could be a bit. Could be a bit of hate though. I don't know.
Ooh, go on.
People could hate me.
I'm excited now.
My honourable mention is Sean Waltman. X-Pac. Don't think about X-Pac in terms of
No.
you know.
I know exactly what you're going to say. Go on.
If we think about the early days of Sean Waltman, right? So
The kid.
Yeah, we're talking about the kid here. His career could stand up against anyone, right? When you think about the sort of what he did, it's like he debuted as the kid. He went and scored. It was a pinfall against
Razor
Ramon. Yeah, and he was a big time star at that time, right? It was a shock. It was a massive shock, huge, and that's why he renamed himself the 1-2-3 Kid, because he pinned Razor Ramon 1-2-3. Obviously, he he was a bit slight. He was a bit smaller. He educated feet is what we could call him. He was yeah, you know,
he loved the spinning heel kick. Right?
he did. He loved the spinning heel, and
it.
it was a nice spinning heel kick. It was a good spinning heel kick. I liked the look of it. He worked all over the world. It wasn't just WWE. He worked in Japan. He worked in New Japan. He had the agility. He had the speed. He had the quickness. He was that like sort of underdog. It was what like Rocky Maivia should have been. You know what I mean? It was like he was the plucky underdog, and everybody got like was like, yeah, we like
fighting
him.
from underneath.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas Rocky Maivia, like they fucking hated him. He had arguably one of the best matches in Raw history against Bret the Hitman Hart. If you haven't seen that match,
yes,
fucking incredible match. It's
the
still
headlock
talked about.
takedown, the fucking headlock throwback, and the
So good.
What the hell's happening?
Even Bret talks about how good that match was as well, which
Yeah.
is testament to how good Sean Waltman was. He was never going to be the guy, but he was the sort of steady hand that the WWF needed, right? And then obviously went to WCW, etc. He then, the term X-Pac heat, you know, is like came into it. He was the annoying fucking disease-riddled little runt of DX.
It was the Rat.
He was the Rat, you know, and he became a hated member. That's by the by. But if you think about the early part of his career, in terms of the size thing we're talking about, he had to be on my list as an honourable mention. He's a 2-time Hall of Famer.
Yep.
You know, it's like
Two-time.
testament to his career as well. So yeah, I just had to put him on an honourable mention. I think people could hate me for that one, Hoxie.
They could, but they shouldn't, because he was floating around on my bigger list. I'll be honest with you, he was one of the first names that I took off because just for me, it was all of my list was a bit more.
Yeah.
He was the barometer for a long time in the WWE. If they brought anybody in from anywhere, of any discernible talent who they thought was a big deal, they put him in a match against Sean Waltman, and he would either say yes or no.
He could work
because he was that fucking good. Probably the best of the lot of them, potentially.
I was just about to say that. Yeah. The entire clique. Yeah. Absolutely.
Probably the best of the lot of them. He was trained by Boris and Joe Malenko.
Yep.
And also, he sat under the learning tree of Karl Gotch.
Oh, did
one
he?
of the greatest shooters of all time. Potentially one of the best wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots as well. Shoot wrestlers.
Interesting.
It's a great shout, mate. I love that shout. Really, really good. I don't think it's left field shaky, but I think it's a really, really good conversation piece and a great shout. When you look back at like all of the fun shit that we would have watched at our age through all the mad shit that was going on, he was there for quite a bit of it.
He was huge moments when you think of it, right?
Cool, man.
Awesome. So before we reveal our number ones,
one of the greatest ever home videos ever released on tape as well.
Cool. Before we
what? That mate, you went on holiday to fucking China, right? That Great Wall video is fucking amazing. Never been there before myself, but I managed to see it.
Hi, TikTok. Okay, everybody. Before we reveal our number ones for the best cruiser.
What are you laughing at, Shields? Come on, mate. Professional. Get it together. Get it together. Come on. Let's go.
Reset.
I think we're going to have exactly the same number one.
I think so, yeah.
Once again, guys, sorry, just really quickly, we do not have conversations about our lists at all, ever. Ever. Even when we come on
this week.
Well, exactly. I barely finished my fucking list before we played press record, before we went live. So, but genuinely, we do not have conversations about our list. I can't stress that enough to people who are listening or watching. Scouts Honor, cross my heart. We do not speak about these lists at all.
Let's be honest. If we married the lists up a little bit, like in terms of that'd be quite cool, we wouldn't have done it for so long. You know, because it would just lost its impact. It would be boring,
shit.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be having conversations about
exactly.
it. Fucking whatever. Yeah, bullshit. Yeah.
Okay, so as I say, before we reveal our number ones, we always go down our list to recap what we've done. So we go through 10 to our honourable mention. Hoxie, you go because I'm my number one first. So
number 10 was Bryan Danielson. Number 9, Rob Van Dam. Number 8, Dean Malenko. Number 7, AJ Styles. Number 6, Tiger Mask. Number 5, Eddie Guerrero. 4, Ultimo Dragon. 3, Jushin Thunder Liger. And number 2, Chris Jericho, with my honourable mention being Dynamite Kid, Tom Billington.
Perfect. My number 10 was Chris Jericho. My number 9 was Taka Michinoku. Number 8 was Psychosis. Number 7 was Tajiri. Number 6 was Dean Malenko. Number 5 was the Dynamite Kid. Number 4 was Eddie Guerrero. Number 3 was Billy Kidman. Number 2 was Jushin Thunder Liger. And my honourable mention was Sean Waltman. I think I'm almost...
It has to be, right?
Right, okay.
It has
my
to
number
be.
1 is Rey Mysterio.
My number 1 is Rey Mysterio as well.
Okay. Oh, yeah, fuck, it had to be, right? I mean,
It
when
has
you
to
think
be.
of when you think of Cruiserweight, doesn't matter like if he's not won X amount of titles. If you speak to any wrestling fan at all, any wrestler at all, and talk about the best Cruiserweight ever, Rey Mysterio is always going to be top of that list. Has to be. And if he's not, go fuck yourself. Right?
Yeah. You don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
And if you don't agree, suck mine and Shields' fucking big toe and get yourself in the sea.
That's the one. I mean, if you think about his career, just don't think about titles. Impact on the business. Fucking very few people have had a bigger impact on him. Popularity. Like, he's still over as fuck now. What, 25, 30 years into his career.
It's more than that, mate.
Well, whatever it would be.
Yeah, 35 years into his career.
Yeah, it will be, yeah.
He debuted when he was 14.
Fuck.
And he's 50 now? 51?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sure he's 50. I'm sure he's 50.
Commercial viability in terms of the amount of merch that motherfucker sold, like in terms of just masks alone, right?
Yeah.
Fucking longevity of his career. We just said that 35 years or whatever it may be. He has got to go down as one of, not just the best cruiserweight, but one of the best ever as well. You know, we talk about Jericho being in the GOAT conversation. If you take all of those different things into account, he's got to be in that conversation as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Yep. Agreed. What the fuck was that noise?
What the fuck was that?
Whatever that was. Some fucking demon trying to get out of me. Amazing talent, mate. I'm just trying to... He's 49. So he's 35 years he's been wrestling for. He's probably the best he's ever looked now as well. Like, that mid-90s period was fucking unreal.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was still amazing, but he was different presentation. And now he is fucking level above. He's the best he's ever been right now, I think, in terms of his work. Because his injuries are better. He's old enough to like understand how to work, but he's still good enough to be able to do the shit that he used to do, but just not as much of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just so good. AAA. I'm just going to run through championships and accomplishments that I found on here. So AAA, all of it. Cauliflower Alley Club Lucha Libre Award. The Cauliflower Alley Club is the kind of shit you want to look at.
Yeah.
Crash Heavyweight Champion, DDT Pro, Heavy Metalweight Champion, Destiny, Lucha Underground, Pro Wrestling Illustrated, PWI, Top Shit, WCW, WWA, World Wrestling Council, WWE, everything, and Observer, newsletter, bullshit, just everything. He's won masks versus masks. He's lost masks versus masks and all this bullshit. Just he has been everywhere and done everything and just been around everybody. All the good shit. Everywhere. And like you say, in terms of like talent who've made money and sort of commercial talent, obviously he was World Heavyweight Champion, beating Batista. Batista? It was Batista, wasn't it?
He was 2-time World Heavyweight Champion, wasn't he?
Oh my God, did he beat Batista
Yeah,
at
he did
WrestleMania?
I'm sure he
beat
did.
Batista at WrestleMania, please.
I'm sure he did.
Just amazing. Just, dude, I can't think of like enough like amazing shit to say about Mysterio. Just fucking so good. So so good.
Amazing. Again, it's all about impact on the business, right? And if you talk to, or if you listen to any of the interviews for, even like the Kenny Omegas and stuff,
He's Rey Mysterio. He beat Angle and Randy Orton in the first one. Sorry, the triple threat.
Right, okay.
Go on. Yeah. Sorry,
you know,
mate,
if you, like the Kenny Omegas just now, he still ranks Rey Mysterio's up there. You know, it's like it's the impact on the business from like generations and generations. We've talked about the matches. Pretty much everybody on this list that we've talked about has had phenomenal matches with Rey Mysterio. You know, that's what you want from like your head honcho in terms of like, you know, your cruiserweight division. He is the benchmark in terms of cruiserweight. He has to be. You know, it's just different class.
ECW. We obviously talked about this, like the psychosis shit earlier on. Obviously the AAA stuff, WCW. All of the good shit that was in the cruiserweight division had his name attached to it. We mentioned earlier on about Mysterio and Guerrero, one of the greatest matches WCW like in their history.
Yeah.
WCW, it's got to be up there. And then when he came to WWE, and just it shouldn't have worked, right? It shouldn't have worked because he's tiny. He's a tiny guy. But he is the exception that, without a shadow of a doubt, proves the rule when it comes to professional wrestling. He wrestles like a guy who's 10 feet tall, but he's not. You know what I mean? It's just the best thing ever. You talk about high flyers, you talk about cruiserweights, you talk about he's probably the greatest lucha star ever as well. You know, I mean, we talk about lucha libre wrestlers or whatever. We probably won't do a list on that because it's not any of our sort of strong points or whatever, but I can quite confidently say he's probably 1 or 1A of the greatest lucha libre wrestlers of all time as well. Just everything he ever did, it just top shit, amazing stuff. Yeah, really good feuds. Some of the best stuff he's done with his son lately as well, like the whole Dominic Rey thing, like the thing from WrestleMania last year, like leading up to all that. Just how good is it? He's nearly 50 years old and he's doing some of his best stuff now. Like he's in his prime, like now at fucking 49. It's just so good, amazing. Yeah, Rey Mysterio, man, what a fucking beast.
He appeared in AEW as well, didn't he? He made an appearance in AEW.
He was on the first show, so he was on there. Like, you know, the All-In live event. Yeah. So he was on that. So it wasn't like a broadcast TV show or whatever. It was like the pay-per-view match. Basically, he was on that. But dude, he's been everywhere, man. He's done some New Japan stuff. Yep. The Lucha Underground stuff, which is just obviously prime and perfect for him. The best thing he ever did was go away and then come back. Like he just went away and just done some amazing stuff, and he got jacked up as well. Got big, jacked up, and lost a bit of weight, but he looks really good for it. Really, really good.
He also had the injections in his knee, right? It was the
my knee. Yeah.
What was the umbilical cord? What's the stuff from the umbilical cord called? Oh my god, can't remember. Yeah, basically it's a science thing. It just helps regenerate his knees and stuff. What's that called?
Dude, I know exactly what I'm trying to say, but I can't say it. They've done a South Park episode on it, didn't they? They were snapping the babies and sucking all the stuff out of the baby's fucking spine. Oh god, what's it called, dude? Oh, I know what you're trying to say.
Stem cells.
Stem cell, that's
it. Stem cell treatment on his knee. That's what sort of rejuvenated him.
Rejuvenated his career. He's 49. That's mad. I didn't realise he was that old. I knew he was getting on, but nearly 50. And he's still going crazy.
Champion in WWE as well.
Done everything you need to do, mate.
Bonafide Hall of Famer.
So, yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. He'd probably be in like 10 Hall of Fames as well.
Yeah.
It'd be the AAA, it'd be the CMLL, it'd be whatever. Amazing. Yeah.
Legend.
Mysterio.
Absolute legend. Do you agree with our list? Do you agree with our number one? I think you'd be very remiss to disagree with it, but that's by the by. If you like the podcast, please hit the like button, 5-star it, share it with a friend, because it helps with the
Algorithm.
Make sure you email us your comments, your suggestions, how you want the podcast to go at wrestlemark10@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, Mark_out of 10, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all that jazz. But next week, Hoxie, right, we had a discussion. What is our next list going to be? Because we're going to do another list before we break up because I'm away in Germany. We're going to do one more list because I think it's a necessity to do this list because we have been shitting on AEW quite a bit.
We feel as though we've been a little bit negative about AEW, and it's not because we want to be. It's because they are forcing our hands to be.
It's because we've got fucking eyes.
So we have eyes and ears, and our faculties completely intact in the most part.
So next week's episode,
Next week,
Hoxie and I are going to do the top 10 matches in AEW history. Okay. It's going to be interesting. There are certainly some excellent matches that have been done in AEW. Yeah. Will we get 10 of them? I don't know.
we might get 7, and then 3 might be a pick.
An argument.
But no, but
Oh, no, we need fucking 11. We need an honourable mention. Fuck.
oh shit.
That's why we're not giving you the option here, because we actually need a full week to actually find
Abaddon
11
versus
matches.
Thunder Rosa on a fucking rampage in 2023.
And on that note, have a very nice evening.
No, guys, honestly, like you say, we feel as though we've been a little bit negative, bit negative ninnies about AW. But I think we boost the energy with AW, and we talk about some really good shit, and they have done some good shit, right?
Yeah, they have.
They have done some really good shit. So I think we bring it back. Maybe TK will on like block us on Twitter if he hears about the list or whatever. We don't know, but I think it'll be good fun. This will, and we get to talk about wrestling and matches and the way shit makes us feel, which is always the good
100%.
stuff, right? Which is always the good stuff.
So yeah, for you AEW fans out there, okay, we are going to be positive, but remember, for every positive list, we've got a negative one coming.
Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you so much for staying on to the end of the podcast. It is greatly appreciated. From Shield, have a very nice week. Goodbye.
And from Hawksey, have a great week, guys. I will catch you on the next one, and we love you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.